Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 314th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call tonight, we have Ozzie Smith, Gabe Lewis, and Andy Patterson. Hopefully, a few of the other boys will jump on. Rapping Rob Kelly's away this weekend, but he's trying to get on from the log flume. I think he's over in a theme park somewhere. No word from Donny yet, unfortunately. We'll try and get him involved. A bit of Hater Dave as well. Yeah, it was a packed weekend. There was plenty going on, I thought. Tevin Farmer against John O'Carroll. We'll be talking that. Bit of South African action, bit of Japanese action. We've had loads of questions come in as well. Previews for next week. We have a show from Frank and a show from Eddie. BT Sport and Sky both on at the same time. Bellew of the Weeks. Ton of them as usual. Much more as well. Let's start off over in Texas, shall we? Errol Spence Jr. against Mikey Garcia. Did Garcia do better than I expected? Not really, actually. I did expect a little bit more. I thought he'd be more competitive for longer. But from about the 8th round, in my opinion, Mikey Garcia, Andy, I thought went into a form of survival. I watched it on a Russian language feed, so I'm not sure what the commentators were actually making of it. But Garcia, he was doing enough to stay competitive, but not enough to win. It was like, I'm still here combinations, a bit of shoe shine in essence. He was celebrating last in the course, basically, raising his glove after every round, even though he wasn't winning them. I'm not shitting on him as such, but I did think myself, he didn't live up to my expectations.
Yeah,
I expected a little bit more from him last week.
I understand what you're saying. I said it last week as well. I sat there last night watching that. I wanted Spence to win by stoppage. I said it last week as well. I thought Spence would have got him late, but it was one of those things. If Garcia lasted at distance and Spence probably was classed as overrated or not got the power, and that type of thing. It just felt like there was no win situation really. I kind of felt that the fight kind of ran away after the 4th round. I thought Garcia was at that point trying everything he could just to kind of try be in a level playing field. I thought by the 5th and that you could see that Spence, he started the 5th quite quick for what I recall. I just don't think Garcia could actually then counter him, and then as the fight wore on, Spence got up ahead of steam, started being more aggressive, ripping the body. Garcia was having obviously there was moments that he just wasn't throwing a shot, but then he would maybe kind of maybe one occasion during the middle of the round or whatever, and that he would maybe launch a few shots just to try and kind of make sure that the ref wasn't going to step in. I felt by about the 10th, really the fight could have been stopped by the corner because there was really no possibility of winning the fight. Okay, there's something to be said if you want to kind of stand on your feet and see the distance and stuff, but personally speaking, in my opinion, I think that was his prime beating it there last night. You could say that the 2 years out the ring, that was his peak years, but he wasn't taking punishment over the course of the 2 years. Last night he took a bit of a beating, especially as that fight wore on late. As I say, I thought Spence would have got the stoppage. Didn't come, but I think if it was an old 15-round fight, that fight he'd have finally got stopped eventually. I think, but as it is what it is. I mean, he was dominant. He never lost a round. I don't think Garcia, as I say, did what he could do for the first four rounds tops to just try and remain competitive. A bit like Bellew did against Usyk, but still the scorecard's been slightly skewed in favour of Bellew, so to speak. But Garcia can come back down. He's not going to go back down to 135. He's talking about potentially coming down to 140 to fight Lomachenko. We'll wait and see. But Spence, as for him, okay, it was a dominant win, but we want to see him in with likes of Thurman, Garcia, and if potentially Terence Crawford and that. And another thing as well is for Spence, I want to see him more active against, like I say, the guys roughly around about his own weight and stuff. We'll give props to Garcia. He tried to come up with an ex-featherweight coming up, trying to kind of try and create history. Couldn't do it. That's not to be knocked, man. He's went up there and tried. That's all you can ask. He's made the weight. He's went in the ring, tried what he could do. He didn't do it. He came up short, or massively short. But at least he tried. That's all you can ask. As for like say, we want to see him now fight Lomachenko, as I say, and obviously Spence fight some of the top guys at 147.
Yeah, looking at the next fight, Sandy, just before you go there, Darren Neal was throwing in questions. He said, what about Spence versus Pac-Man? No interest myself. I want to see Bud. I want to see Thurman or a move up to 154. Could he go straight in as mandatory for Jarrett Hurd's IBF title? That's what Darren Neal's asking, but he doesn't want to see the Pacquiao fight anyway.
Well, I'm not wanting to see the Pacquiao fight either. In the day, I think Pacquiao, the faded vet legend that he is, you want to see him retire, but Is that right to say he's step up and fight mandatory for Jarrett Hurd? I think that's a massive fucking step. I mean, come on, you know, on those sides of Hurd's massive. You know, Spence would need to kind of box move all night long, and he's not putting a dent in Hurd either. So I think we'll probably see him kind of remain at one. Maybe in the day, 147 is the money division. He's got Pacquiao if he really wants it. It'll be interesting to see what the figures are actually on the pay-per-view as well. You know, that might turn me off. He's going to stay at the weight and that. And then it might end up seeing like the Thurman, Porter, Garcia all want to kind of call him out and all want to fight him. But I thought as well as last night the figure 45,000 was a good figure actually as well, especially for a fighter who, on intents and purposes, you know, known that the boxing world isn't really all that well known. So that's a good turnaround for him actually. But personally speaking, I want to see him stay at 147 if he can make it safely. But if it means that he's not going to be active, then he's clearly going to be one of these kind of like maybe like twice a year fighters and that. But 154, I didn't see him. You know, there's no any good fights up there for him. My personal opinion. I mean, Hurd and Lara and Castellano have got unfinished business as far as I'm concerned. And Brooks, I've forgotten, man. He's beat him already, so there's no point having that fight. So no, stay at 147 for.
What about Charlo?
Um,
He's fighting Harrison, isn't he, in a rematch? I think.
That's right. Okay. Well, if it's that Charlo, then I would think he would probably beat him. You know, Charlo and that were getting a lot of hype in that last 18 months and stuff, but I've killed on those guys. Like, and you can see later last night as to why Spence would give Floyd problems. You know, he was jabbing and he was dropping the left hand at the body. You know, you drop that left hand in there or drop a straight shot to the body, you're going to basically push the guy back, get him to reset and stuff, and that's what he did all night long. And you know, Garcia kind of like then looking for the left hook counter and stuff, and sometimes he would find a few shots here and there, but it wasn't enough, and he just didn't have enough to kind of put a dent in him. Which, by the way, I would probably ask you the question: considering the beating that Spence put him on there last night, do you think Lomachenko could actually hurt Garcia?
I think there was a potential for him to hurt Garcia, but yeah, there's definitely going to be a bit of extra mileage on Garcia now after that, I would imagine, going back down. And that, so there's a potential he could have been cracked a little bit, but I think I remember interviewing Garcia back on his comeback fight 2016. It was Frampton Santa Cruz undercard. He was fighting Elio Rojas, and he struck me as a resilient guy. You know, he had that sort of the bit of devil about him. He seemed stubborn, and I saw that last night as well. He was refusing to get hurt, and he wasn't really throwing a lot back, but he looked to me weary, I thought, in the last 20 seconds of the 8th round. His nose was bleeding by this point. His bloated waist was like heaving under the weight of Spence's attacks. They were going upstairs, they were going downstairs. And then in the 9th round, Spence put his foot down and started attacking him to the body. And once he had him accustomed to the body attack, he then went upstairs in the second part of the 9th round. A lot of ring intelligence from Errol Spence. I thought he did everything he could. Gabe, yeah. What about the 11th round? There's a case to be made for possibly Mikey Garcia getting stopped in the 11th round, whether a cornerman, whether a referee, whether a doctor. Would you have been outraged, Gabe, if someone had said, Mikey, at some point during the 11th or maybe after the 11th, you've had enough?
I think it depends on what side I'm on, to be honest. I didn't think, I mean, I know he was getting beat up, but I don't think it was bad enough to stop the fight. There was a lot of stuff he was blocking up. Spence was being really active. What he did land, it was good punches, but I don't think the quantity from what I was seeing was enough to stop it necessarily. I mean, like you said, I know he looked tired. I know he looked like he was worn out, but I just didn't think that he was hurt enough to justify having someone stop it. Of course, you don't ever like to see a guy go on too long and then get hurt in the end. Nobody ever wants to see that. But I think if you were on a particular side of the fence, then you may feel differently about it. I think, like I said, for me, it was no. I wouldn't be outraged if they stopped it. I would understand why, but also at the same time, I mean, it's not like, to me, he was getting just fucking obliterated. You know, he was taking some punishment, but he wasn't getting just slammed all around the ring. Every punch wasn't landing. and he wasn't visibly hurt to the point where it seemed like he needed to be rescued from himself. So I wouldn't be outraged, but it wouldn't bother me if they did. So I think, again, it just depends on what side of the coin you're on. And that's not trying to be a masochist or anything where someone wants to see a guy let himself get hurt or anything along those lines. I just think I don't see him being hurt enough to justify stopping it. To me, with what I saw was a bunch of punches being blocked still, and a guy that, even though he wasn't throwing back, was still defending as well as you can whenever you have a guy being that active and not throwing punches back.
Terry Woodfine was in touch over on Twitter. He says, make sure you give Richard Schaefer a mention. Always happy to mention him. Absolute cringe introduction to Errol Spence at the post-fight press conference versus Garcia on Saturday night. That bad, even Spence looked embarrassed. Yep, that's Richard Schaefer for you. Dippo Osho was in touch as well. He said, full respect to Mikey. No shame in last night, but I was really disappointed in the corner for not pulling him out. He was taking lasting damage in a fight he could never win. That might affect his career long term. I hope he doesn't suffer any lasting damage from this because he is a great fighter. All those other fighters, Thurman, Porter, Garcia, etc., were too scared to take the Spence fight. So a fighter 2 divisions below, says Dippo, had to step up to the mark. Spence ends Pac-Man comprehensively for me. Respect to Mikey and hope to see him fighting again soon. What do you think about that, Ozzy?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Spence would absolutely demolish Manny Pacquiao. It's a fight that I don't really care about seeing. It would be a comfortable and easy payday for Errol Spence. And I think there's every chance he could probably get him out of there as well. I agree with what everybody else has said. Look, it was a fight that isn't exactly difficult to analyse. It was one-sided. I think people felt that, look, a lot of people were tipping up by Mikey Garcia, particularly in fight week, but I thought the size in the ring was quite evident. And it wasn't just that as well. Look, Spence produced some pretty much sublime boxing skills, and he did everything better than Mikey Garcia, and the weight was an obvious advantage. The final 3 or 4 rounds it wasn't a difficult watch. I've seen a lot worse where people have taken beatings, but I mean, I'm looking at the corner thinking where they were telling him, I think, look, if you're not going to start throwing punches, then we're going to pull you. And then they've basically said a round and a half later, look, we're not going to pull you out at all. Now, for me, he's taken a lot of unnecessary punishment. I don't think you can look at the referee and say, look, could he have stepped him? Definitely not. But it was one that I would like to have seen it ended purely on the basis that, look, he hadn't won a round. He hadn't won a round. So why keep going? Because it wasn't even, they weren't even competitive rounds. He was just taking shots after shot after shot. I think he took a straight left. I think it was in the 4th round, and he took it bang on the chin, which I've got to credit him for, actually, because he took some big shots. And I saw the reaction in his face, and I thought he knows, he knows he's not out of his depth in that sense, but look, he knows that Spence can really punch. For me, Errol Spence now, look, I think he'll fight anybody at 147. I don't think people will be. I don't think he is afraid of anybody. I think the fight that everybody wants to see is Errol Spence against Terence Crawford. Sadly, I don't think we will see it this year, and it'll probably edge into next year. And from that perspective, I'd happily seen him against any of the other champions, but definitely not Manny Pacquiao.
Thanks, Ozzy. We'll return to this very shortly. Before we do so, delighted to have our guest of the evening on the call. It's Tommy Fury. How are you, Tommy?
I'm good, thank you, mate. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for joining us. We're just talking there, actually, about Errol Spence, Mikey Garcia last night. Did you get a chance to watch it?
I needed me to sleep, so I never watched it. But I've watched a good few bits of it this morning. It was a masterclass by Errol Spence, and Mikey Garcia, is a top fighter, but he just never had a plan on that night. He never got anything executed.
You think it was down to that then? He had all the skills, but he just wasn't able to put the game plan into execution?
Yeah, of course. He's a 4-weight world champion. If 4-weight world champion put anything into practice. Nobody can really. It was just about levels, to be honest, and it just showed that you can't jump up 2 weight classes and take on a man like Errol Spence. He's a great fighter and probably the best around there is today.
Just before we look at your career, they're talking about Errol Spence maybe moving up, maybe fighting Pacquiao. We want to see him fight against Terence Crawford. If that fight came off, Crawford against Spence, who would you pick?
Yeah, I'd still side with Spence, to be honest, because even though I think Crawford is a great fighter, they're both legends in the making. But I would edge towards Spence just for the fact that he's a southpaw. He's quite awkward, and he's got a lot of power in his shots, and he puts his punches and bunches together well. And
Garcia maybe moving down to fight Lomachenko. How would you see that going?
Yeah, I think that would be a more competitive fight because if he moved down a weight, that might suit him more because he's got he's a rough fighting style. He's got the Mexican style. But Lomachenko, you talk about another legend in the making as well. So it'd make for a really good fight.
Certainly would do. Just looking at your career, you made your debut there on the 22nd of December on the Frampton-Warrington undercard against Mr. Andreevs. It was a 4-round points win for you, Tommy. Just thinking back, how did the night go? The nerves, etc.
The night went, just as I expected it, to be honest. But as far as the nerves and pressure, I got up that morning and I've been thinking about this night for years in advance. So, I knew what it was going to be about at the end of the day. I got to the arena and everyone was there, and I just went out, and when the arena was empty, I just went down to the ring and I said, right, now's my time to shine. This is the start of my journey. And when the TV knocked on the door and said it's time for walking, I felt a little bit of nerves, but good nerves. And when I got in the ring, I just felt like I was at home, and then just relaxed straight into it. I didn't really feel any nerves at all, to be honest. I've been more nervous for amateur fights, but at the end of the day, I'm happy with how it went, and on to the next one.
You mentioned your amateur career there. You turned pro at 19. Tell us a little bit about your amateurs and what made you sort of decide to turn over.
Yeah, I barely had any amateur fights, to be honest. I had 12 there, and those were in small halls. I only entered the Nationals once, and got to the final with 9 fights, and I was facing guys with 30 fights. So I did well, but my dad always said if you can fight, you can fight, and if we're going to do it, it's too hard of a sport, to do it for free at the end of the day. It's a prize fighting man's game, and I'm not just in it for the money. I'm in it for the long run at the end of the day, and I like to do fighting properly, and amateur boxing just wasn't fulfilling my needs, so I bow down and give it the exit. So here I am, professional boxer, doing it properly, doing it the right way.
You mentioned it there. You're from a fighting family, obviously the Fury surname. Any added pressure, or do you just take it in your stride?
There's advantages and disadvantages, but don't get me wrong, it's all advantages at the minute because it brings more eyes around you. It brings more appeal to it. Just for your last name, that last name is going to cause people to take just a little bit of a more interest in you. And I'm aware of that. But as for pressure, not really, because I've stated it in many interviews. I'm not here to live up to what Tyson or Hughie's done. I'm here to live up, and I'm here to do the best that I can do, not anybody else. Because I think people forget sometimes we are all individuals and we are all our own men. And I'm going to go as far as Tommy Fury can go. I'm not going to go as far as Tommy Fury can go on the back of somebody else. I'm going to make my own name in this world, and whatever my limit is, God's got a plan for me, and I'm just going to execute it. But I'm going to train as hard as I can and for as long as I can. So at the end of it, wherever I get to, I know that I'll give it everything. I have no regrets.
Yeah, well said. Just to remind everybody, we've got Tommy Fury on the call, at Tommy Fury 2 over on Twitter. Any other social media presences you want to tell the listeners about?
Yes, you can follow me on Instagram at Tommy TNT Fury. I'm most active on Instagram. That's my stable. And I'm on Snapchat. You can be on there on Tom Fury for all the live training videos, and just follow the journey. It's going to be a good, exciting one.
It certainly will be. You mentioned training there. You're training at the Hatton Gym alongside people like Nathan Gorman. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a dream come true, to be honest with you, to be trained by my idol. Growing up, I used to watch all of his fights. How could you not? He's the greatest fighter to come out of Manchester, and he's done unbelievable in his career. And when I had the phone call to train with Ricky, it was absolutely astonishing. And I thank Ricky for taking me on, because he's made me 10 times the fighter I ever was, and I've come on leaps and bounds in such a short time. So I think in the years to come, I'll just keep improving and improving, and that's all down to him. And I've never really looked back, to be honest. And yeah, like you say, training down with Nathan Gorman, he's obviously cracking on in the heavyweight division. He's also got a big fight coming up, hopefully, against Daniel Dubois. And just seeing him training in the gym, it gives you that added motivation just to push on and train harder.
Looking at your second fight, it's coming up on Saturday in Leicester against Maxim Orgakov. So he hasn't tasted victory yet. You're hoping he won't on Saturday as well?
I'm hoping he won't. That's the plan at the end of the day anyway. But like I say, I'm improving all the time, and I'm here to show everyone what I can do. And each time I come out, it's going to be a better performance each time. And
just finally as well, just a quick word on your brother. Obviously, signed with ESPN, onwards and upwards. We still want to see the Deontay Wilder rematch as well, hopefully.
Yeah, of course. As for me as a boxing fan, I'm not really too bothered because we've already seen that he's completely outclassed and beat Wilder. Anyone with a pair of eyes can see that. And I would much prefer to see, Tyson versus Joshua, to be honest, because I think that's the fight most people would rather see out of the two. And as you said about the ESPN, you couldn't have wished for a better deal, to be honest, could you?
No, I did. Superb stuff. Tommy Fury, everybody's joined us on this Sunday evening. It's been a pleasure having you on, Tommy. We really appreciate you giving us the time.
No, thank you very much, mate. All the best and God bless.
Thank you very much. Cheerio.
Bye.
Super stuff there. Really enjoyed that one. Tommy Fury spoke well, didn't he, Ozzy? That was good. We've had a few good guests on lately.
Yeah, he came across really well, to be honest. I think all the Furies talk. They all give good interviews and they just give their opinion. Tommy, he's only 19, so he's only just starting his pro journey, but he's clearly confident. He's got a good team around him, and I wish him all the best. Look, he's not had much of an amateur experience, so there's clearly no rush with him. And I think with him, he's going to face poor opponents early on, but it's the only way you can learn, really. He's not there to call anybody out. I think he's pretty level-headed, so we'll wait and see how good he can turn out to be.
Yeah, he's only 19. Thought he spoke very well, which is always a bonus because sometimes, if people can't string a sentence together, it makes things quite difficult, but there you go. Right, rapping Rob Kelly can string a few sentences together, a few bars, a few beats. I'm getting into the lingo here. Rob, you impressed?
Definitely, dude. You're down with the kids. Not in a bad way.
No. Don't you start. I have enough trolling in the... Here, Rob, let me tell you, Ben Churchard's been in touch and he has one for you. He said, Errol Spence, we're talking about Spence Garcia, Errol Spence's ability to barely waste a shot is ridiculous. Arguably the best jab in boxing at the moment, says Ben Churchard.
Yeah, he's got a very good jab. I think that's kind of been understated because he's been blowing guys away. He's a very, very good boxer. I think it's a lot that he's able to smash Mikey Garcia, even though, looking at the fight, it was hard to know which way this fight was going to go until you saw Garcia in the ring because it was pure speculation. He hadn't been up there at 47. It was a massive weight jump. But if that's not an advertisement or an indicator to say Garcia's best weight is lightweight, even 140, I don't like him even at 140. I thought, looking at it closer in the week leading up to the fight, he didn't even put a dent in Broner. And I heard Broner speak during the week saying that, Broner's got a good chin. He's taking shots from Maidana and he's been dropping. He's come through fights. He's never been stopped. But he said that Mikey never really budged him. And I think that was clear in their fight. He completely outboxed him. He didn't really, the pop was not there as the further he goes up the weights. He's definitely a lightweight. Like he looked like a fat blown up lightweight last night fight against probably the best welterweight in the world, or one of the best welterweights, definitely in the top 2 welterweights in the world. And Spence's jab was brilliant last night. Like he was treading the jab at times, digging to the body, his combination. It was just a whitewash. Like it was just a one-sided beatdown. And again, I'm sure this has been said already, but why the fuck did they not pull him out of the fight? Like that could have wasted years off his career last night. Last 3 to 4 rounds, he was just getting a shelling. Just a shelling, and credit to Garcia. The only credit really Garcia gets for this it was a bizarre move in retrospect. I mean, he's moved up 2 weight classes and taken an absolute drubbing for 36 minutes, 12 rounds of non-stop punishment, and like after the 6th round, it was getting kind of unbearable to watch, especially as a fan of Garcia, because you're like, you want to come again, dude? Like, you know what I mean? You had a long time out of the ring due to contractual issues. You want to see him fight again. Preferably at lightweight, but He took a shellacking in there last night for the last 3 or 4 rounds, and I'm surprised that Robert Garcia, especially being his brother as well as his coach, that he didn't pull him out. And I know it's the kind of it's the pride. You want the cojones. He gets a stat if he finishes the fight with Spence. You know what I mean? He gets credit for going to 12, but that's all he gets because he didn't win a single round. Got completely outboxed, as well as like the physicality and the other disadvantages that he was facing. So, to be honest with you, for a guy who's a Garcia and a Spence fan, but there's no glory. I mean, Spence gets the credit for completely outboxing an elite boxer, but Spence was probably 160 by the time fight night last night or north of that. So, I mean, he's a middleweight beating up a blown up lightweight. So you can see how people would maybe detract from him based on that as well. But I thought it was a hard watch. Like, I didn't like it. I thought they should have stopped the fight around the 10th round and just let Mike have another day. Honestly, I don't know if he'd be the same again after that. I'm not like being over dramatic when I say that. I think he took heavy shots, and
I said the same.
Yeah. A systematic beating. I mean, the body shots, even you could see him wincing with the shots. And again, like Mikey's he is a technician, he's a smooth technician, but his speed had even depreciated a little bit last night when he moved up. His defense wasn't there. He wasn't and he's never been like super slick or whatever, but he's had like good reflexes and good timing. But that meant nothing. He couldn't put a dent in Spence, and he really took punishment last night. Unnecessary punishment for me, and I think they could have taken a couple of years off his career. The slight edge over Lomachenko, based on his size and the fact that Lomachenko is probably not a natural lightweight either. But I don't know if we'll see that fight now, and I don't know if Garcia is going to be the same. So interesting to see where he goes. As far as Spence versus Pacquiao, that's going to be another man down. Tyan Boot. That's going to be a massacre at this stage of Pacquiao, with the way the Pacquiao has regressed at his age. The fact that he's probably not a natural 47-pounder, even though he's campaigned there for so long, I wouldn't like the outcome of that. I think Spence would knock Pacquiao out now. So I wouldn't like to see it. But Thurman, Danny Garcia, any of those, I know we're not going to get the Crawford fight next. And even last night, Crawford's my favorite active fighter. But after watching Spence last night, with Crawford being a smaller guy as well, it's hard to see how he beats Errol Spence. Do you know what I mean? I mean, as talented as Crawford is, as tough as he is, has he got the punch to trouble Spence? I don't know. He's that big of a unit. I haven't seen Spence really hurt. He seems to be confident, the same as Mikey, that he sees something in Spence that he can defeat him. I wonder, does he still see it after last night? Like I said, Crawford's my favourite active fighter, but even at that, I'd favour Spence in that, just off the physicality and the size of Errol Spence. But Keith Thurman and all them should be ashamed of themselves for not wanting to fight Errol Spence. I think we're probably going to see Spence versus Porter next in a unification fight. Don't want to keep him away from Pacquiao. And if Pacquiao has advisors aren't kind of along the lines of Ali's advisors towards the end, where people were putting him in fights that he shouldn't have been in, I'd like someone to sit down and have a word with him and say, Manny, look, you've done it. Don't go out like this. To me, it'd be like when Leonard fought Terry Norris, except worse. So I wouldn't like to see it, but Keith Thurman and all these guys that don't want to fight Errol Spence, they're calling out, making fights kind of with other opponents. Nobody seems to want to fight him apart from Bud Crawford, and that's why Garcia gets so much credit, because he is an avoided guy. But I mean, if you're the world champion, you hold a version of a world title, you're.
We're just slightly losing you now, Rob.
Hold on one second.
You're all right, just losing
Okay.
Rob. Okay. Not many people giving Mikey Garcia a chance. Chad put in Bellew of the Week nomination for Matthew Macklin beforehand. The closer it's getting, the more I fancy Mikey Garcia. I did pick Spence when it was first announced, but I've changed my mind. Garcia on point, said Matthew Macklin. Didn't quite get that one right, unfortunately. Undercard action, Andy. David Benavidez knocking out J. Leon Love. Luis Neri defeating McJoe Arroyo.
Yeah.
Chris Arreola got a win as well. Charles Martin against Gregory Corbin. On the state of Chris Arreola, well, yeah, I mean, where do you even go with him? Like, the thing is, though, Lennox Lewis, a guy who fought for so long at the very, very top, he said at the end of that fight between Chris Arreola and Jean-Pierre Augustin, good fight. It was one of the worst spectacles I've ever seen. It was like unlicensed tough man standard. Augustine's his technique was so poor, and Areola just like a big fat mess. And I mean, what do you even go with that, Andy?
Well, mate, I don't know what copy you watched. I watched ITV before last night, and I had the misprivilege of having Ray Flores as the sole commentator. And honest to God, mate, I wanted to reach through the television and fucking strangle him. He just spoke for the sake of speaking. He must have got paid by the fucking word. Every fucking airtime he had, man, was taken up by. I just been talking, man. But I don't know what the fucking point it was. Anyways, as you say, I missed the Charles Martin fight. I think that was one of the fights that came off on the card. Areola, he just battered the guy. I mean, he's talking about fighting for world title shortly and stuff, but I think he had him doing a few times, at least twice, if I can recall. That's so much I was actually paying attention to it. But it was a shambles, wasn't it? I mean, he's just basically he would do better work in the gym. The guy was just absolutely on his feet. Don't know if he actually even trained for the fight. So basically we'll put a line under it. Benavidez, I was actually surprised his fight actually only went 2 rounds. I expected that fight to go a couple of rounds, but I did go a couple of rounds. I mean, more than a couple of rounds. One thing I was surprised at actually was the beating that Neri put on Arrojo, but I know Gabe would be raising at this fight because Neri's obviously been done for the drugs and never been served as a proper ban. But at the same time, Arrojo's he's past his peak. His best years was probably about 3-4 years ago when he beat Hernan Marquez, and I think it was a Villanueva, I think it was for the title, and he lost to German Cajas. Ever since then, it's been downward slope ever since then. So I think he's come at the end. So it was clearly a kind of keep busy fight for Neri at the same time. But I've got to say, based, I don't know how much it cost. Maybe Gabe can tell us how much the pay-per-view was worth. But I'd been raging if I paid for that there last night. It was like the cards you get for Russia. The major pauses in between fights, and it was just a load of shit. I thought they could have really kind of got through that card pretty quickly as well. But yeah, just the whole setup, it was cheap. It was just that whole commentator was just shit. But Benavidez, was decent victory, I suppose. Gets him back into it. He was looking for a title fight. Neri's, as I say, keep busy. And Areola, if he's talking about world titles and stuff, it'll better be like WBF titles looking at, because he's not been fighting like Joshua that anytime soon.
Thanks for that, Andy. Joining us on the call now, we have our second guest of the evening. Delighted to welcome James Moorcroft. How are you, James?
Hi, mate. You all right? You okay, self?
Not too bad at all. We're just talking about the weekend's action, but we want to get to know you a bit better, James. Looking at your record there, 10-0 with a couple of knockouts. Things are moving pretty well for you at the moment.
Yeah, well, like I said, boxing, a lot of people do like the knockouts, but I've had 2 knockouts in my last 10 fights. My last fight I got a knockout, but I know a lot of people do like to see the knockouts, etc., etc. But I enjoy boxing. I like showing my skills, and I enjoy getting through the rounds. And hopefully, when the titles would eventually come, that I've got the rounds in the bank that can get me to them levels, kind of thing.
Yeah, you're talking about titles and that. I mean, what's the aim, short term, long term? What are you looking at, James?
Well, obviously, I'm not going to think ahead of my expectation. Like yeah. I'm 10-0 now, so I would love the central area, but a few people have said maybe the central area might have been and done kind of thing. So I'm up for an English or a central area. That'd be my next protocol, and I would love to. I want the central area really before some sort of English, but at the end of the day, I've just got to leave it with the manager Steve Woods and just see where things go, kind of thing.
Yeah, Steve Wood's obviously a regular guest on here, so you're in really good hands with Steve. He knows the business, very experienced.
Definitely.
Yeah, Steve knows what he's doing. Tell us about your background then in boxing. Am I right in saying you started off on the white collar scene?
Yeah, well, to be honest, mate, I started off and I'm 20. I've just turned 26 last week now, yes. So I've been boxing about 4 years now. I started off at when I was 20 years of age. I started off and I thought I want to be a cage fighter.
Okay.
And I ended up going to a cage fighting gym in Wigan called Cabon, and that's where I was doing my wrestling, my jiu-jitsu and the boxing all on different days, kind of thing. And I met a guy called Lee Blundell, who's now my coach now, and Lee Blundell was an ex-world champion himself. He beat Ryan Rhodes on the BBC, and then I was with Lee, and Lee was like, "Listen, I want you to like do the boxing, not just the cage fighting." So I really think you've got something in boxing. So one thing led to another, and Lee ended up getting his own gym, and I went to Lee, and then I had 12 unlicensed fights with Lee. We turned over quite premature, and we got our license. He got his pro trainer's license. I got my pro boxing license, and then the rest is history, kind of thing. And I just really enjoyed myself.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. Fair play to you. You mentioned the unlicensed scene there. We don't hear much about that. Tell us in depth from your own perspective. What's it like to box as an unlicensed fighter?
Well, obviously, a lot of people aren't gonna like take me on when I say it, but I believe there's like a bit of a transaction from the. I watched it all my life boxing, obviously, and to transact from amateur to a professional it's a tough thing to do because it's two different sports kind of thing. But with Lee Blundell coaching me from the first, I only picked up a glove at 20 years of age. So when Lee Blundell got me, I was a blank canvas, and Lee Blundell never taught me to be an amateur. He always taught me to be a professional. So I went through the unlicensed as a professional. I was knocking everybody out in the unlicensed, but I think that was because he never taught me to be an amateur. Because at the time when I was coming through as a white collar fighter, it was when it was the amateur, the old amateur rules. It was punching, not be hit, and not be hit kind of thing. The point scoring, and but I just think like because he taught me to be a professional from day one, I never had to transact and because another thing as well, we have people in our gym who they start at like 8 years of age and they're fantastic boxers, but there's two different routes you can go down. But I'm at the route now where I want nothing else but boxing, so it's good for me now. I've got a really good head on it, and it's just boxing is what I want to do, kind of thing.
Yeah, so do you think there's a place then maybe for the unlicensed scene? I mean, you've had 10 fights now as a professional. What's the standard, the disparity in standards between professional and unlicensed?
Yeah. Obviously, I know a lot of people who are involved in the amateurs. They are going to be a little bit, well, they're not, I know they are because I've been there and I've heard it and I've seen it, and they're a little bit critical of the unlicensed boxing. But this isn't charity fighting; it's unlicensed boxing where, like, when you get to the age of 20, 21, you struggle to find a fight at the unlicensed, at the amateurs. Sorry, so the unlicensed fighter, they get paid for the unlicensed, and it's just it was really just a stepping stone for me because in my own head, all I wanted to ever do was to be professional. And it was just a stepping stone for me. I knew I had to go with Lee because Lee's not just my coach now. He's my best friend. He's my idol because I know he's been at the best. Lee Blundell's been at the best levels. He beat Ryan Rhodes. He beat some lads at the top levels. He's become a world title champion. And I just want to be like him. So all I can do is just follow in his footsteps, do what he tells me to be, and hopefully one day I can be just as successful as him.
Yeah, just to remind the listeners, James Moorcroft's on the call. He's 26 years of age, 10 fights, couple of knockouts as well. He's going places. Super welterweight, is that the weight you're going to be campaigning at?
To be honest, mate, yeah, I started off at a middleweight because obviously I am from the amateur background, so we never actually quite knew where my weight was. But I'm actually campaigning at welterweight now.
All right, is that going to be the foreseeable future? I mean, what's the weight making process like for you?
I'll be totally honest to you, mate. With Lee Blundell in my corner, we don't actually. He's always advised me to not do the all. As you see, you've got boxers who do the weight cuts and they're doing this. He actually advised me to not go into that, but I've got to the stage now where I can be 10 stone 10 2 weeks before a fight, and all I've got to do is make 10 stone 7. So if I wake up on a Friday morning and weigh-ins at 2 o'clock, I can jump in the bath and be 10 stone 7 with no problem at all. So 10 stone 7 for me, welterweight is a really, really good solid weight for me. I'm 6 foot. I'm a big welterweight, and there's not many welterweights the size of me at the moment. So I'm really, really, really looking forward to see what good welterweights are out there, to be honest.
Final couple of questions for you, James, and we do thank you for your time. You've fought.
Thank you very much for getting me on. Anyway.
No, not at all. You fought some of the usual suspects there: Liam Griffiths, Kevin McCauley, Chris Jenkinson. You know, the sort of survivors. Do you think that the best might come out of you when you get a guy who's going to come forward right in front of you?
Well, that's what happened in my last fight. I had a good guy called Simon Henry who called me. He was on the Anthony Joshua undercard last time, and he really, really did come. But the fact is, when he come for me and he never stopped throwing punches, that's when I actually felt in my own. When the guys like you said, your usual suspects, the Willie Warburtons, the Nathan Hardys, the Kevin McCauley, when they want to just tuck up, it's hard to open them up. Simon Hardy on Saturday come at me, he threw thousands of jabs, he threw lots of right hand, and that's why I stopped him in the 4th round, because when someone's actually throwing shots to give me the openings, that's when I can exploit them things.
Yeah, just the final question I have for you. You've gone from white collar, unlicensed, to sparring a world champion like Terry Flanagan. It must be dream stuff for you.
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
It must be dream stuff for you, going from unlicensed, from white collar, to sparring a world champion like Terry Flanagan.
Oh, listen, when we got the phone call from Steve Mailer, we got the phone call, would we be able to spar Terry Flanagan? And I think it was the fight when he was fighting. It was for his world title against, I think it was it Maurice Hooker?
Yes.
I think it was, yes. So he was fighting, obviously, a rangy guy, a tall guy. So we got the phone call to go and spar him. And Lee Blundell, my coach, rang me up and he said, we're doing Terry Flanagan today and he wants to pay you in cash for your time. And to me, that was probably the biggest honour in boxing I have ever come across, because for a world champion to ring me up and ask me to spar them, it was like unbelievable. So yeah, that's probably definitely my biggest boxing, how could you say it? My biggest boxing thing to know, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great achievement. Well done, James. Onwards and upwards. Any social media presence you want to tell our listeners about?
Yeah, well, obviously I'm on social media. I'm on the Facebook, James Moorcroft Boxing. But yeah, I'm on Instagram as James Moorcroft 13. So I would love you to all follow my journey, because, to be honest with you, as you can tell, I'm just an outgoing guy who has good fun. I'm not one of these boxers who's just straight up boxing, does anything. My social media is just all about having a laugh and fun times, and just being a lad, really.
Brilliant stuff. The very best of luck to you, James. Thank you for coming on with us.
Thank you so much, mate, and I really do appreciate you getting me on your great podcast at this time. Thank you so much.
No problem. Good luck, James.
See you soon, mate.
Cheerio. James Moorcroft there, one of the good guys. Good luck to him. Yeah, I was asking you about the unlicensed stuff, because we hear a lot about that, don't we? Bieber and Malta and all that. And is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I don't really know, to be honest. I'd probably get knocked out if I unlicensed box. I'd get knocked out in the back garden, though I was shit at boxing. Right, let's move on, shall we? My boxing career just petered out into nothingness. Gabe, you're quite handy with the old fists there in Texas, knocking motherfuckers out. Nobody messing with Gabe out there, tell me. Sorry, I'm stalling here while I bring up the page. It's going a bit slow, Gabe. Tell me about David Benavidez, because Lennox Lewis didn't seem to know too much about him. He's a young, hungry guy coming for a world title. Says Lennox Lewis. Yeah, well, he's already had one, says Joe Goose, and he's already pretty much lost it. Not going to say why, you know what I mean? Lennox wasn't quite on the ball there, but J. Leon Love looked a bit like a cut-price Devon Alexander. Not as good, though. It was a strange performance from Love, but a clinical one from Benavidez, Gabe.
Yeah, I thought it was a good fight on paper for Benavidez to come back to. I thought it would go a little bit longer than it did. And I've been pretty high on Benavidez for a while. I know that I got a little bit of trash for supporting Jose Benavidez in his fight with Crawford. I thought that he would do a decent job in the fight with Crawford. I just kind of kept up with both these young guys for a while. I just think they're good fighters. I didn't know what levels they'd be at whenever they came up. You know, there was some talk of Jose Benavidez. I think he was training out there with Freddie Roach at the wild card, and they were both, Jose was pegged as being one of the up and coming guys that was going to be a big time fighter. And David, I don't think got the same kind of praise coming up. Fought a little bit in Mexico when he was first coming up. You know, the whole thing though was that coming back, I thought that Jay Leon Love would be a good fight for him, but he showed some real fire. I think he missed his time out of the ring, and I was actually glad to see that happen. You know, for him to come back and be fired up and ready to go. Like I said, I thought Jay Leon was a little bit tougher and would present a little bit more of a matchup that could go longer, but you know, he didn't. I thought Benavidez looked phenomenal. And I'll tell you, I don't think anybody at 168 beats the kid. I don't think the fight with Canelo will ever get made. I forget what's Durrell, Anthony. I think Anthony Durrell wouldn't stand much of a chance against him. You know, a couple of weeks back before his fight, I came on and I was praising him. I think he's a really solid fighter. Anthony Durrell, but I don't think he beats him. I just don't think anybody at 168 beats the guy. I don't know what his weight looks like beforehand, and then unofficially, I didn't hear him mention anything like that last night, but I was glad to see it. I'm glad to see him back with a fire. Hopefully he'll get back in the ring quickly and get a couple more fights in before he goes on to get that belt back from Anthony Durrell. And then, you know, the obvious place to go that I would like to see would be Canelo, but they won't fight. Golden Boy will keep that from happening. You know, with the promotional barriers, I guess. So I think, you know, he's going to rule the 168 division for as long as he can stay there. He's so goddamn big, though. I mean, he's so fucking tall. And he's just big. And when you got a guy with some intangibles like that, like the size, the speed, and the power that he has, it's just setting up for a dominant reign there, like I said, for as long as it lasts. So I was glad to see that. Yeah, I did think the PBC announcing crew was kind of bad, though, last night. They kind of hinted it around and hemmed and hawed about him.
Louis Neri as well. They didn't mention any of his exploits.
Oh no, they certainly didn't mention that. That was more blatant. I think the you know, they have the crew that's actually announcing the fight, and then Sean Porter and I forget who else it was sitting up higher, you know, kind of going the in between fight people. They briefly, subtly mentioned about his cocaine positive test. But they didn't say shit about Neary being a fucking drug cheat at all. They didn't say a goddamn thing about that. And then you had somebody like Sean Porter pegging him as being special and comparing him to fucking Pacquiao. Give me a fucking break. This was a fucking joke. You know, it would be one thing if they had mentioned it and given people an appropriate view of what this guy's done. You know, I mean, it's hard to say a guy's not a solid fighter if he's got the record that he has. But at the same time, you can't just fucking believe that the drugs that he got caught using weren't helping him to get as far as he did. I mean, he went over to Japan and absolutely blitzkrieged Yamanaka, who at the time was one of my favorite fighters, which, you know, some people said, oh, you're bitter about it. Well, I mean, not really. It happens to everybody. And Yamanaka had been showing some signs of slowing down for a little while, you know, in several fights. But I just kind of got disgusted about the way that they handled that and are big upping him to be something great, you know, because I just don't like it. I mean, he's a fucking drugs cheat. He got caught. And then he really didn't even serve any time. Again, of course, it was the fucking crooked WBC that he's involved with, because that was a title I believe he went over and beat Yamanaka for. So, you know, how they always provided good benefits for their own home crew, Mexican fighters, which is absolutely goddamn disgusting. Sorry, I'll stop ranting about it now.
No, that's okay, Gabe. I'd like to offer a bit of therapy on this show. Gabe's absolutely raging. Back up to the heavyweights, we mentioned Aussie Chris Ariola earlier on. Charles Martin was in action as well against Gregory Corbin. I would have preferred to have seen them put Martin against Ariola. Then we could eliminate one of these whales from public view. They're both being built up, I think, as future fodder for a champion or a challenger of some description. The interesting point about this was Corbin. He was looking for a way out by low blows. Something told me that this guy had done 7 years in prison. He just had a bit of psycho potential, I thought. I was expecting like a James Hammer Butler moment from him. He seemed like a bit of a character, a bit of a nutcase, Corbin.
Actually, I haven't seen this one. I didn't know. I watched the.
You haven't missed much, Ozzy. Segue onto something else if you win.
I saw the Ariola fight, and to be fair to Ariola, it's probably the best shape I've seen him in for years. He looks like he has trimmed down, and look, I mean, he's not going to be any threat. And a fight that probably does make sense is Ariola and Martin for one of these, the garbage fringe, like ranking belts. But like you said, it gets rid of one of them then.
How shit was Ariola's opponent though, man? I mean, he was like stiff as the board.
I mean, talk about, this is what I mean, a padded record. He was 17-0. Like I said, I mean, the shot he got dropped with was just like a ramrod jab, and he just went straight down. And he was gone. His legs buckled from under him. And then he looked like every time he landed, he didn't want to be there. He just thought, look, this isn't for me, any of this. I was impressed with Neary. I thought he looked 2 weight divisions above Arroyo. He basically thought, I'm bigger than you. I hit harder than you. And he boxed like he had no respect for him and absolutely battered him. I thought it was quite an impressive performance, to be honest. I know he's got his critics, and obviously with the drugs and etc. and things like that, but he's put in a performance there from what you would expect. From someone who is a level above. He didn't labour to like a late stoppage points. When he went out, he showed no respect to his opponent and absolutely pummeled him. And I mean, fair play to Arroyo, he took some big shots. I mean, he was dropped 4 times, but obviously that was towards, like prior to the stoppage.
He was game, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. But like I said, he just posed no threat to Neary whatsoever. And then on to Benavidez, I was really impressed by him. I mean, it's scary to think he's only, what is he, 21 or 22? So in reality, he's still a baby in the division. I mean, he's a former world champion. I'd like to see him with Callum Smith. I think that's the best fight they can make at 168. It will be interesting for Smith because he's got somebody of a similar size to him. I mean, you look at Smith compared to some of the 168s, and he looks a weight division above. Benavidez is probably a bloke who's a similar size. He's got quick hands. It was an impressive performance the way he got rid of Love last night, and like I said, he's looking for the Durrell fight. He wants his title back. I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, look, I think he's got this farce of a rematch with Avni Ilderim, but there's no reason why that fight can't happen once the rematch has taken place and Benavidez can get another fight under his belt. So it was okay. I didn't mind it. Like I said, it was an all right night. I'd be pissed off, like Andy said, if I'd have paid $80 for the main event from what it turned out to be. But no, overall, impressive performances from Benavidez, Neary, and like you say, even Ariola to an extent. The opponent wasn't much, but he did it in fine fashion and beat the guy up.
Yeah, you're listening to episode 314 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast, everybody. Steve here with Rapping Rob Kelly, coming to Rob shortly on the Farmer Carroll fight. Ozzy Smith's with us as well. You just heard from him. Gabe's in raging form, as usual. Andy Patterson is with us as well. We've already had Tommy Fury on. If you missed it, you can go and catch the iTunes or the YouTube or anything like that later on in the evening. We've had James Moorcroft on as well. Good to hear from both of those guys. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Jason Chukwu is in the chat, everybody. Jason Chukwu, I repeat, is in the chat. Ian Chalice, Mark Pritchard's there, JG, Hamed as well, all the usual faces, MB, Tro11 face, not seen you before, welcome, sir, or madam, or neither, you never know these days. Right, let's move on before I upset somebody. We just have to mention these 2 results because we haven't really got time to talk about them because I've let things slide as usual. Tommy Frank getting a 4th round knockout win over Luke Wilton on Friday night. Michael Gomez Jr., as Ozzy alerted me to, lost in an upset by a point to Henry James, who's a bit of a journeyman, so that's not a good look for the younger Gomez. Tyrone Nurse lost a close majority decision to Echo Esserman over in Nottingham on Saturday night. So Nurse wouldn't say he's getting to like journeyman stage or even gatekeeper stage or anything, but he's starting to drop a few losses on the old record, so maybe they need to keep an eye on him. Andy, South African action, IBO cruiserweight title. People are shitting on Box Nation, Andy, and they're bringing IBO cruiserweight title knights from South Africa. Kevin Lorena against Arthur Mann. How could you not love this type of action?
Yeah. Well, I don't know how much you saw it, maybe it was kind of like going to be kind of plodding, so we say, kind of like first couple of rounds and that. But it does make a farce when you think about like Lorenya's actually like failed the drugs test and never been properly banned for it. Man's obviously undefeated. You know, he's probably his best win going into that fight, which was available on YouTube, was that was under Pale fight, which was a classic kind of local derby, which he won pretty handily on points, but. The ending was a bit kind of weird, I felt, but it looked like the left hand probably hit the top of the head, maybe just kind of slightly screwed his balance off a little bit. Of course, when he stood up, he just shook his head as if to say he wasn't want any more and that. But, you know, that's, for all intents and purposes, drugs or no drugs and that. You know, Lorenya's now got what? He's got Kutcher, Kalenga, he's got some mad Russian guy on his record as well with Arthur Mann and stuff like that, and the Danish guy, Mickey Nielsen. And I think he's also got one that usually beat him. I forget who he is at the minute, actually. But yeah, he's got a wee decent resume for himself and stuff. But at the same time, I want to see him kind of up his competition a little bit now, especially off the back end of that. So we'll wait to see what happens to him. But I don't know, what do you think about it?
Well, yeah, I like the look of Lorena. He's starting to put a few decent wins together, but it's the spectre of the drug thing just hangs over and people just seem to get away with it, don't you? I mean, last night it was quite literally man down, but who the hell is Arthur Mann? As soon as he got hit with those few punches, he did try to fight back, to his credit, but it seems like South Africa, it's all going on over there. They're in their own little bubble, aren't they? You have to wonder how these guys, like your Oosthuizens, like your Machunus, Boaters, I don't even know if he's even going anymore, how will they fare when they leave South Africa? Lorena's making his money, fair play to him. He's getting his IBO title defences and he's beating a reasonable enough level of competition. But whenever he comes out of South Africa, what will he offer then? You know, and like I said, Andy, the drug test as well is a problem to me.
That as well. I mean, I suppose the only one you can really look at toward who's built up a decent career for himself, going abroad, fighting and that as well, and unifying titles is Hickey Butler. But then again, how many people actually pay attention to like the minimum weights, like flyweight divisions and stuff? You know, the guy's been in a few good fights. You know, he fought that guy Taguchi, who we'll discuss at Tanaka fought there and stuff. But just off topic and stuff, because obviously, you know, we need to see some of these South Africans getting tested, bring them across and stuff. But one heavyweight guy who was on commentary last night on that fight was Pierre Kotzer. Remember him? Big heavyweight. He fought.
I do. He fought Lennox Lewis, didn't he?
He did. Yeah. I think he was a police officer back in the day, back under apartheid. And that he's a right dirty bastard. By apparently he shot a black kid in the leg and stuff like that. He says he deserved it or something along those lines. Proper fucking fiend, that one. Like, but he was a tough fighter for what I remember. He could take a fair bit of punishment. That boy.
Yeah, Charles Martin took a bit of punishment. I forgot to mention Michael Gaety had nominated this for Bellew of the Week, but I just threw it in there. Charles Martin was talking in boxing scene this week. He said, when I'm in this mindset, nobody can beat me. So yeah, he's thrown out the gauntlet there to the heavyweight division, old Prince Charles. Didn't want to go by without mentioning that. Yeah, wrapping Rob Kelly, let's go on to the action over in Philadelphia, shall we? Tevin Farmer, unanimous decision over John O'Carroll. It was an interesting fight. I thought it was a good fight as well. Tevin Farmer fought like John O'Carroll wasn't a puncher. Carroll had success. The champ, Farmer, got touched up a little bit, but Carroll just didn't have the punching power to go through with it. And I think if he had a bit of a dig, Carroll, it could have made it moderately more interesting.
Yeah, I think he probably be better campaigning a weight below. I don't know what his weight is like. Could he make that weight? But he hasn't got any pop at super feather anyway. No chance. I think he's only knocked out like 5 guys, hasn't he, John O'Carroll? So he's not. He definitely doesn't carry power.
Yeah.
Saying that, throwing 1,200 and something punches in a fight is something to be admirable. Something to admire from a fella. When you think about John O'Carroll, like he is, I don't want to sound too much like Eddie Hearn here, like, but he literally has come from nowhere. Like he was over working in Australia, labouring like Doheny, third pro over there. Got an opportunity to fight Deco Garrity in a 4-rounder, beat him with the upset. Garrity got himself disqualified when he was losing the fight, I think. And then won prize fighter, and he's taken every single opportunity that's come his way since then, and he actually hasn't looked bad in a fight, apart from the Frenwell one. Now, I said last week on the pod I thought he might get stopped, but I did a bit of a U-turn in the chat during the week. But the reason I was thinking that was I heard him say in an interview before that he trained with the wife and kid. And I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago on the pod. Now, I know everybody can't be Marvin Hagler running around in army boots and not talking to your sparring partners, but I think you have to have a level of intensity in your training to get the mean streak in you and to get the killer instinct. So he changed that and he'd gone away for camp. So I knew he'd give it a right good go, but I just thought he'd fall short class-wise against Tevin Farmer. And some of the punches, like Farmer has a great shot selection, definitely a highly skilled guy, but I don't think Kyle's stock is going to go down too much. I don't think he'll ever be a top elite fighter, but I think down the line he could pick up a version of a title, depending on getting the right opponent. But he's not to be ashamed of. He's gone to Philly. He's had a right go, and he hasn't just gone and lied down like the typical kind of B-side away fighter. He's gone there to try and win the fight. So massive credit. I know a lot of people were giving him stick on YouTube because he was celebrating with his mates afterwards, but you have to remember, like, this guy has no amateur background. He only had about 10 amateur fights or something before turning pro, so he hasn't got the same kind of schooling as the likes of a Deco Gardy or likes of some of the other guys who were coming through. Definitely, like Tevin Farmer hasn't had that kind of education. So
imagine, Rob, sorry to interrupt you, if you could roll Geraghty and Carroll into one fighter, you'd have a hell of a fighter.
Yeah, exactly. You'd have a right good fighter on your hands. So I don't know, like, if you can kind of criticize him too much. He's got a good payday. He's gone to the States. He's raised his profile, and he'll come again. He won't ever, I don't think, become, like I said, an elite level world champion, but he might pick up a version of a title down the way. And he's never in a dull fight. So credit to him for that. And I know it's the kind of age-old adage, the Irish guy goes over, he gets cut in bits, and you give him credit for participating, but he did really give it a good go. And I think, the fight everyone wants to see is Farmer versus Gervonta. If Gervonta is not going to fight Lomachenko, which is obviously he's not going to. So Tevin Farmer versus Gervonta, the grudge match is there. It'll be interesting to see. I don't think that fight's going to happen either. I think you're going to see British fighters getting wheeled over by DAZN now.
Yeah, Martin J. Ward was tweeting out, coincidentally.
I saw that. Well, maybe he's thinking, look, if Carroll got his cue from social media, he seemed to get his title crack based on his social media beef with Tevin Farmer, and maybe even though he didn't win the Frenwell fight, he still got the fight. So maybe he's thinking, a short trip to a world title fight and a payday for himself. But I think you're going to see more of that. Like, I think there's a couple of opponents there. Maybe Tennyson could fight Farmer as well. But I mean, Farmer, again, he can't really. If he could punch as well, he'd be a hell of a fighter. If he could really crack, he's got all the skills. He'd be entertaining. But he's a guy, and I mean, I heard Eddie Hearn talking bullshit during the week, saying, I just can't believe America's boxing is different. Philadelphia doesn't get behind Tevin Farmer. But you look at the fighters that Philadelphia is after producing. Tevin Farmer ain't nothing special compared to them. So they've seen it all before. You know what I mean? It is a fight city, but they've look at the fighters they produced down the years, from Eldrick Taylor, Joe Frazier, Bernard Hopkins. Farmer's far down on that list.
Matthew Saad Muhammad, the greatest, my favourite.
Exactly, Saad Muhammad. So the list is endless of Philly fighters. So I don't think he's lighting any fires over there. But I like Farmer too. I think he's kind of done it the hard way. He hasn't been the A side himself, so he's put himself in a good
fair
position.
play to him, Rob. He's having a few paydays now. He's getting a bit of limelight, and he's beating up these. I'm not going to call them bums, but you know what I mean. Fair play to him. But you know what? If he fights Tank Davis, I don't think it's going to end well.
No, well, maybe Tank Davis. When you're watching Tevin Farmer, one eye is on ITV3 and the other's on ITV4, so maybe Davis will be able to straighten that out for him. But he blue eyes, one blue east and one blue west, but no.
Chip shop eyes, one here and one around the corner.
Yeah, exactly. But I know, look, a good fighter, Tevin Farmer, and John will come again. But as far as Katie Taylor and all that, I don't care. Like, just don't care. I know she's going to fight the titles and all that. Just don't care. But I'm going to love his and leave his. I'm going to listen to the rest of it on YouTube because I'm finding it difficult to get a spot where I can actually.
Rob, very finally, before you go, just on Jono there, you mentioned about him getting a bit of shit or something. If you can't celebrate after that fight, when can you celebrate?
Well, people are saying, "Oh, typical Irish, he's celebrating a loss." I just don't think they kind of understand where he's coming from. You know what I mean? He's definitely come from nowhere in the sport. He wasn't expected to do anything, and he's probably exceeded. Look at the likes of John Joe Nevin, who was on the card. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where he's got to take it. But I know, just quickly before I jump off, I wanted to. Andy's not going to be happy that Baby Bro's been cleared of all charges of sexual battery.
No, I'm gutted at that, by the way. Fucking rage.
Well, AB is not stressing these holes. He's blessing these holes, baby.
Yeah. Stretching those anuses, baby.
Right. Well, I'm gonna listen to the rest of the show on YouTube, but I'll catch us next week.
Thank you, Robert.
All
Thank
right,
you.
lads. Good luck.
See you,
All the
mate.
best,
Cheers.
Yep, at Rob H. Kelly on Twitter, everybody. He's over in Paris on his holidays talking to us. The most dangerous thing to come out of Paris since hepatitis E. Let's get on with this card then, shall we, Andy? Carroll against Farmer. Am I the only person? This is a really weird observation, Andy, but were the shorts of the fighters like blurred or something? Were they trying to blur the sponsorships out? Was it just my screen needed clean or something? It looked like their shorts were blurred out, like they were trying to, cut.
I didn't even pay fucking attention to that.
just notice that.
Seriously, fucking shorts, man. You're lucky that I even switched on a matchroom show for once, for fuck's sake. Fucking shorts.
It just looked like there was a blur, like moving around their shorts. I don't know if it was my eyesight. Maybe I needed my glasses on. I thought they were trying to cut out the sponsors or the messages or something, but it was on both of them. But anyway, Carroll was cut, as Rob mentioned, the customary cut. Farmer is a very good boxer. He's good at selecting, Andy, the right punch at the right time.
Yeah, he's a very good boxer. I dare say as well, I suppose his lack of knockouts would tend to suggest to people that he can't punch that, but if you look at it kind of late in that fight, it hurt John O'Carroll pretty badly. And I agree with what Rob was saying as well. I think I'm on record as saying this. He's one of these fighters who I believe he will come again. He maybe not win a world title at the first point of asking, but I've got this gut instinct, this gut feeling that I think he could maybe do it at some point in the future. It's going to have to maybe be the right opponent, but at the same time, he can't have any disappointments about it. Like, he gave his best. He's threw as many punches as he possibly could, and it still wasn't enough in that. So, but I agree with you, Steve, as well. As I still think Davis has got the handle of Tevin Farmer. Like as I say, you can certainly see that fucking twist in the eye getting straightened out. Instead of just putting the old Kunzel specs on and the old Kunzel fucking eye patch and stuff like that, Gervonta Davis is going to knock it straight. I can really see it happening at some point.
Undercard, not going to bother you with Taylor or anything like that. I did enjoy the Rosado fight, actually. I thought Selecki was a favourite, a reasonable enough favourite beforehand, Andy. I thought he would get the job done. Andy was going on his way. He'd won pretty much every round. He'd got a couple of knockdowns. And then all of a sudden, Gabe Rosado, out of nowhere, knocked him down. The second knockdown was slightly dubious. I thought he was starting to hit him around the back of the head. But he added that intrigue in the last couple of rounds, and Adam Smith and Matthew Macklin were enjoying it, and it suddenly became a pretty decent scrap.
Was he doing twice in the same round, was it? Or am I getting that wrong?
He was down twice in the 9th, and then he was sort of on shaky legs for the 10th, wasn't he?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, but just trying to get my rounds and that right. But it's just, again, we all know what Rosado brings. He's going to be tough. He's going to be durable. He's going to, basically carry your rounds and stuff. But how often do we need to hear a guy saying, he'll fight anybody, he'll spar anybody, he'll fight all this, he'll fight all the world and stuff like that? That's good. That's fantastic. But at the same time, as he's taking all this fucking punishment, and for what reason? Just to be like, as Danny Robson said last week, the gatekeeper. But it was a decent enough fight, I suppose. Selecki, I don't think it's him. It's other Polish guy I'm talking about. It's European champion I'm talking about being the next opponent for Golovkin. So I don't know, but it was what it was. Golovkin serving up, is good copy, for a guy who's got, potential or aspirations to be fighting for world titles and stuff. But to be honest, off the back end of that, I think he can maybe wait a wee while longer, actually.
Good man, Andy. We'll be coming back to you on Japanese things shortly. I'll be coming to you as well, Ozzy, not only on Carroll against Farmer, but also on the Luke Campbell fight. Gabe, how much did you see of Carroll Farmer? Credit to Carroll after that 11th round. I thought he was going to get stopped, Carroll, in that 11th round. One judge, I think, even gave it 10-8 to Farmer. Carroll, he showed a lot of guts, Gabe. He wasn't in any danger of ever winning the fight. But like I said to Rob, I don't begrudge him celebrating afterwards, for what he's come from. He deserves it. I'm not saying he deserved this fight because obviously the draw with Frenoir and all that, Gabe, it was a little bit dubious. But if Frenoir's thrown up next, how would he get on against Tevin Farmer? How would Martin J. Ward get on against Farmer? How would Gervonta Davis get on against him? More to the point, Gabe.
Well, I think that's the next logical step that we'd like to see.
Well said, Gabe.
So sorry about that. I had to cough real quick. Didn't want to cough all over in the listeners' ears. Shit, where was I at?
2019, Gabe.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Welcome, brother.
I had a thought that almost choked the fucking death. Yeah, Farmer. I thought that, I mean, it's in a lot of ways you got to appreciate what he's done. He's had quite a few fights in quite a short amount of time recently, and it's really obvious that he's a really good boxer. I mean, there's no way that he's going to beat Gervonta Davis. I just don't think there's any way that it's going to happen. I mean, he's going to have to have a extraordinary night, and he's going to have to land some incredibly clean punches with some mustard on them to keep him off of him. I just don't see it happening. I don't think there's any way. I mean, I do think that he'll do as well as you can expect without having a lot of pop. I just don't see it going well. And then all I really think is it's going to be somebody who can stand up to the punches and the output, and who has a little bit of power to walk him down, to beat him. Because with his style, it's set up that way that if you can get past the volume and not get stung too much on the way in, and you've got enough power to bother him, then you can do it. It's just a matter of somebody actually carrying that plan out. It's going to take somebody with a good jaw and some willpower to walk through the punches that they're going to get hit with. I think that someone who's defensively sound isn't necessarily going to have what it takes to beat him, because if you're so worried about defense, then you're not going to come forward enough. And I think that's what it's going to take to beat Tevin Farmer right now, is somebody to come forward and to really apply the pressure and to do so without worrying about the risk of getting hit or getting hit often. And to me, that's the game plan on how I would approach it if I was looking for somebody to beat him. But you got to give him credit. I mean, he's certainly been very active, and his skills are plenty obvious to anyone that's watched him. I think the real fight that I enjoyed off that card was the Rosado Selechki fight. I thought that was, even though there was some exciting moments, it wasn't necessarily all around a great fight. You saw Rosado do what he does, which is just kind of look middling for a lot of rounds and then land some big punch. Typically it's his right hand, and work his way back into the fight. I mean, I've always tried to watch his fights whenever he's on. He's usually in pretty good fights, because he always has that potential to do something big and land a big punch. It's just a matter of if he does it or not, or if he cuts open and bleeds to death before he can get it done. So, the whole card for me, I didn't watch all of it, so I'm not sure what else was on there. But those were the two that I saw. And like I said, I thought they were entertaining fights, if nothing else.
Yeah, there was plenty to get excited about. Ozzy, Carol Farmer wasn't a bad scrap at all. You enjoyed Selecki against Rosado as well. Gareth Chamberlain threw in a Bellew of the Week nomination for Matthew Macklin on Sky. Macklin said that, Mikey Garcia aside, Luke Campbell, who was in action on Friday night, is probably the best lightweight in the world.
Well, we know that's not true, don't we? There was a clear agenda that, wins over Troy James. Was the Ivan Mendy rematch, was it some sort of eliminator? Was it a final eliminator or not?
Was that the eliminator for Linares, or did that come? When did that come?
No, it was after Linares, that.
Was it after Linares, right? Okay.
Yeah. But he's not. He's not the best. He's not the best lightweight. What's the second best lightweight behind Garcia? All it's rubbish, but it's just an agenda they're trying to push. Look, he's looking to fight for the vacant title if Garcia decides to chuck it away. If he keeps hold of it, then look, he's got to fight Mikey Garcia. It's simple as. But no, Campbell looked okay. I thought he got caught early on in a couple of times, just to the body. But after that, he went through the gears and just absolutely pasted that Adrian Young, and it was an impressive stoppage. He did exactly what he had to do. It's going to be interesting. Are they just going to wait, or are they going to wait for this vacant title, or are they going to try and keep him active? Because look, he's not getting any younger, Luke Campbell. He looks babyface, but he's 31 now. He can't be, keep having periods of like 8 to 10 months out the ring constantly, coming back, getting a, like a keep busy fight, and then he goes missing again, basically. So I think they're going to look to get that world title, but it all depends what's going to happen with Garcia and whether he decides to vacate the belt. Do you know, I was impressed by Selecki. I thought he boxed well, and then he got caught in the ninth, and it just opened up a bit like a can of worms, basically. It brought Rosado back into it. Rosado was saying it should have been stopped in the ninth. Bullshit. Look, you knocked him down, yes, but by no means should the fight have been stopped, particularly when the second knockdown came with like 2 seconds of the round left. So that definitely shouldn't have been waved off. But I can't see him posing any massive problems to Andrade, who they're looking to put him in with next. But I think it'll be okay. It's one of the better opponents. It's better than Andrade's last opponent anyway.
Yeah.
Katie Taylor didn't watch. Again, not really bothered. It just doesn't interest me at all. And then Tevin Farmer, it was semi-competitive, the Carroll fight, but it wasn't. I don't think he was ever at threat of losing the fight. And look, when people like Martin J. Ward call him out, he's going to be lapping it up because he's going to be saying to Eddie Hearn, you get that checkbook out, write me a nice big juicy check, and I'm going to cash it because I'll beat all your domestic level Brits who want this world title fight. Fair play to him. You keep cashing in on it. And look, they've said they're going to offer $5 million to Gervonta Davis to fight Farmer next. If that offer gets turned down, then look, it's not from Farmer's side, and I think Davis should snap the hands off because I would take Davis all day long against Farmer. And if that isn't the case and they can't secure another unification, then you tell Hearn to keep lining up these mediocre Brits because it's just bread and butter for him, and he's topping his bank balance up at the same time.
Yeah, High God Plodder in the chat was mentioning a possible Luke Campbell, Teofimo Lopez fight for the vacant title. Wouldn't be the worst fight in the world, he said. I would agree with that. Andy, before we move on to our questions, previews, Bellew of the Weeks and all that, probably going to be a long one tonight, but we'll see how we get on. What about this Japanese fight? Kosi Tanaka defeating Ryoichi Taguchi for the WBO flyweight title, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, mate. Discussed it last week. Tanaka... kind of keep busy fight. It didn't really turn into a great scrap, so to speak. I know Tanaka created some sort of history there by, I think he basically joined Lomachenko. I think it was running about the fastest of becoming the world champion 3 weight divisions or something like that. But the fight itself didn't kind of match the level of that kind of that type of kind of prestige. But I just felt that Tanaka. He was scoring with a lot of left hooks. You could kind of sense that I felt like Taguchi was going to be kind of frustrated. I felt as well that probably about the 4th or 5th round in that, you could see the kind of fatigue in the guy, man. He was really, really knackered in that fight. So I think Tanaka, you got to say, he kind of did lay it on him, but Taguchi, he tried his best to kind of turn the tide, but you could see it. He just didn't have it in him. He struggled through that entire second half of that fight. So you got to kind of give him a lot of credit as well for actually seeing it out to the bitter end. And just on the topic actually as well as another shout out as well to obviously to Asian Boxing on YouTube and on Twitter and that for actually getting the rights to this fight. Unfortunately, I actually slept in, so I didn't actually catch the fight live at 7 o'clock in the morning, but I didn't eventually manage to catch it. So we've got to kind of say thanks again to Asian Boxing for making sure we got to see that fight, because without that, we're probably kind of waiting for the next couple of weeks probably to try and get a copy of this fight. So glad to kind of get it when we did, and especially get it live as well.
Yeah, shout out to Asian Boxing, also to Marcus Bellinger for informing us of that. A few fights coming up next week. We're not going to discuss them in any depth, but just to mention them. Over in Russia, there's a few prospects coming through. Maybe Box Nation will pick this up. It's their type of IBO title fair. Shavkatson Rakimov is going in against Meimu. He's 13-0. Rakimov, Russian super featherweight, pretty decent prospect. And Axel Lulu, whatever you call him, he's a super featherweight as well. He's 13-0, going in against Pipat Chaiporn. Chaiporno. Yeah, not really the greatest at the moment, but they might turn out to be something pretty decent. Return for Krzysztof Wlodarczyk. Everyone wants to see Diablo coming back to the ring. He's in against 18-2 Alexandru Jur next weekend in Poland. Also, JJ, Fight You on the Cobbles, McDonough is on the undercard against a Polish super middleweight prospect. So good luck to him in that. And finally, for this little bit anyway, over in Chile, the boxing hotbed, Red Hot Miguel Gonzalez, 29-1 super flyweight in a decent scrap against unbeaten Australian Andrew Maloney. So we'll let you know the results next week. I'm sure everybody's desperate to know. Questions. Gabe, we've already gone over this, so give me a brief answer if you can. Liam Wynn was in touch regarding the Spence Garcia fight, Gabe. Was the Spence Garcia fight a question of Garcia not being able to make the required adjustments, or just a good big guy always beats a good little guy? What do you think then, Gabe? Was it size, or was it Garcia's inability to make adjustments, asks Liam Wynn.
More so size than anything. I mean, that was the thing, not only in terms of size difference, but Garcia didn't do well with the added weight. He was slower than he normally is. He looked like he was having a hard time getting off. And I think the size was the biggest deal. I mean, you'd like to think that there was something that he could have done. But I just don't. I mean, I can't really think of anything that he could have done to change the tide around. I mean, the only option that he really had, and he didn't do it, was just to go for it, just to go for a fucking knockout and see what happens. But without doing that, I mean, nothing he could have done, I don't think would have changed the way it went, because I think part of the problem was that he couldn't ever time Spence to counter him, because Spence was so active. I mean, he was flicking out jabs, 2, 3, 4 jabs, but he always puts punches together. And so whenever you've got a guy that's constantly putting punches together like that, and that are dangerous punches for yourself, then it makes it harder for you to find an opening to let off with a counter punch. And I think he was counting on Spence not throwing the punches that way, which, I mean, he really always has done. The only time he hasn't done that is whenever he's been taking it slow and not really looking to blow someone out immediately. If he ever gets in his groove, he's going to throw punches that way. That's just what he does. So I think the size was the biggest difference, and it impacted him in 2 different ways. But I think a lot of it was just the way that Spence fought. It was a bad matchup for him, because you're not talking about a guy that throws one big power punch at a time, or 1 or 2 punches that you can block, slip, and then counter with, or whatever scenario it is that you want to try to do. It's just the combination of the size was the biggest thing. And then with the way that Spence fights, the size coupled with those 2 things made it impossible for Mikey to really come back with anything of his own and to use anything else. Because, I mean, what options did he have? He could have been a counter puncher. That obviously didn't work, because I think that's what he came in to try to do. He could have tried to press the action more, but Spence was fighting well off the back foot all night. Whenever he was going backwards, I mean, what other options realistically do you have? And it all really comes down to the size was there, but the way that Spence used his size was smarter. So no, I don't think there was anything besides the size being the main thing.
Seems like Sunday night boxing's where it's at. We'll talk about Michael Conlan shortly. That fight's coming up later tonight. I was looking for the Lipinets fight against Peterson. Couldn't see it on the schedule, but that's next Sunday as well. So they all seem to be coming out on the Sunday nights. Daniel Adams has joined us recently over at patreon.com/boxing asylum. Welcome to him. He has a question for you, Andy. It seems to be an insider type of thing. I'm not really aware of what he's talking about here. He said, ask Andy about the photo I took of Michelle Joy Phelps last year. He's seen it. That will be a laugh, trust me.
Where was this picture taken? I have no idea.
That's all the information I have. He said, 100% ask Andy about the photo I took of Michelle Joy Phelps last year. He's seen it. That will be a laugh, trust me.
I've seen quite a few pictures of her this year, actually. I would agree some of them are a laugh. If you're basing it off that picture that was taken during the week there by someone, it was definitely a fucking laugh. But
Well, I was going to ask you about that, Andy. I mean, not that I want to comment on other people's appearances or anything like, but Turbo Tommy sent that in to me. He said, Bellew of the week for Phelps, managing to hide the fact she's really called Gary from Biker with a 9-inch chod on the slack. Is that really, Michelle? It does.
It is her, but she's. See, to be honest, if you look at some of the pictures, like she's had the work done. She's either done lipo or what do you call it again? Oh, the Botox.
I had a bit of scaffolding put up.
Or either that, that chin would suggest HGH as well. So
you could take a shot with that, though, couldn't you?
Oh man, either that she's overdosed and come. I have no idea.
I'm wondering if Andy might, Daniel might have meant Tommy rather than you, Andy. I don't know.
Possibly, but what's his name again? I just try to remember if I've met
Daniel Adams. Daniel Adams.
Nah, might be Tommy's thinking about. I'm not too sure.
Yeah. Putting that to one side, Andy, before you go, Danny Young, a friend of the pod, obviously threw in a question. He said, if Usyk was to beat Povetkin, who is a top 10 heavyweight, would that be enough to make Usyk pound for pound number one?
No, I wouldn't say so.
But I would say we sort of mocked Donny last week, didn't we, Andy? But if Garcia had pulled off the upset against Spence, I probably would have made him pound for pound number one.
I suppose it's a hyperbole in that as well. I suppose I was kind of along the lines of that. I don't know if I said the same thing. I'm not too sure. Pound for pound, it's just subjective at the end of the day. That as well. Yeah, it's what you fancy.
No, you are right. It is subjective. Right, a few more questions. Who should we go with then here? Let's go for you, Ozzy, shall we? Another one from Daniel Adams. He said, can you ask the lads how they see streaming going? I only like boxing, so I only have Sky for boxing or BT for boxing, says Daniel. Will there be a time, Ozzy, when we can literally just say, go to Sky Sports and pay to stream the boxing content only?
No, I don't think so. I think it will always have a place on television. Originally, I thought you were going to say something like DAZN, but I think anything that involves a subscription is going to, particularly which is new, like DAZN. Box Nation was exactly the same. You need people to buy into it. So I can't see Sky basically having a paywall website from where you have to pay to get on there. Unless I can't see it happening. No, things may change. Like I said, DAZN will come over eventually to the UK, I think, and that might ruffle a few feathers over here. But in terms of a long-term thing, I can't see it for boxing in general. And not only that as well, it's not like the Premier League in terms of football. Where they could basically the Premier League could found their own TV channel and stream everything, like a Netflix type thing. With that many different promoters and platforms and people that wanting to throw cash in, that's never going to work. So for me, no, I don't see streaming as a future in the sport. I think it's always going to be TV channels or some sort of like that, basically just who's got the deepest pockets, and they're always going to be around here because they're propped up by other sports.
Edmonton Kings in the chat, welcome to him. He said the sooner DAZN enter the UK market, the better. We believe they are coming to the UK market. Daniel Adams also threw in as his final question, has anybody noticed how Anthony Yard and Tunde both laugh and giggle at the end of every sentence? I hadn't noticed that, but I'll keep an eye out for it. Gabe, let's get your informed American perspective on this one. Take Ames is in the chat. He's asking us as well on the subject of Anthony Yard. What do you make, Gabe, of Kovalev versus Yard? We believe he's going to go for it. He's the WBO number one ranked contender. Sergey Kovalev against Anthony Yard. How do you think this one is going to end, Gabe?
With Yard getting knocked out.
There you go, everybody. What do you think, Take Ames? You've thrown the question out there. Let us know what you think. Yeah, it's going to be difficult for Yard. He might do slightly better than people think, but I'd say fourth or fifth round, he's probably going to get iced, to be honest. So, yeah, there you go. Good luck to you, Mr. Yard. Anthony has asked a question. Andy, let's go to you on this one. We haven't mentioned really Eddie that much. Let's get stuck in on this DAZN Deontay Wilder question.
Do we have to?
If the rumours are true, Andy, what do you and the panel, but more so you, Andy, it's you, I want to hear from you on this, of Wilder rejecting the $100 million offer from DAZN? I find it strange, as on the surface, it looks like a good deal. I thought it was a good deal, Andy, and I was about to praise my man, Al Heyman, as always, sending Wilder off to DAZN for a $100 million payday. He's his advisor. Heyman will be getting a nice big juicy cut. Wilder will be shown on DAZN in front of all these millions of subscribers. Great publicity as well. It looked like a move that was going to make sense for them, but it's rejected.
Is that definitely aye? Because last I was reading an article, probably middle of the week, sorry, saying that there was a lot to think about according to Shelley Finkel. I really don't know there's a lot to think about if you're getting offered, as well. I think the word was that economically, I forget the term that Finkel used, but apparently whatever Wilder asked for, he got it. He's the partner who rejected it. So, to be honest, if we're talking about mega tens, $100 million deal here, right, and we're talking Eddie Hearn being involved with it, do you seriously think there's no going to be any problems with that deal? Of course there is, because as far as I'm concerned, there's got to be some sort of caveat attached to it. So I'm not even going to attempt to know what's actually been going on behind closed doors and stuff, but it wouldn't surprise me if if there's something to do with the rematch clause with fighting here. I have no idea. I mean, I'm not going to pretend I know. Other people in the chat will probably know. They've probably read more than what I have.
Andy Editing King says that Wilder said last night he wants to stay a free agent. It sounds like he'll just be doing fight-by-fight deals going forward.
Fair enough. That's Sugar Ray Leonard. So if that's what he's wanting to do, then, end of the day, that's what Mickey Garcia spent 2 years of his career doing. But he ended up coming back out of retirement and ended up signing with Al Heyman. But no, he's, as I understand it, from what I've read, it's not all about the money, right? Some people might find that hard to believe. Maybe this guy's got enough money. He's maybe got to invest it properly. He doesn't need to fucking fight purely for the cash. He's wanting some legacy. He's still not accepted as a legit boxer, so to speak. He's wild. He's uncouth and all that sort of stuff. It might not just well be about the cash, but if he's been offered a deal, I would imagine that he's been offered the fight, but he's going to fight exclusively on the zone. Maybe he doesn't want that. Maybe he wants a set opponent. Maybe he doesn't want to fight a bum and go fight with Joshua next and potentially a rematch. Maybe he wants to fight a few. I've no idea. But it's just, again, the whole situation's become a wee bit murky, a wee bit more kind of just shit. So I was kind of hoping with this news that we maybe see him sign with ESPN, but the way he's sounding, as Editing King says, and as what I've read it as well, is he just wants to remain that promotional free agent.
Yeah, I'm going to bring Ozzy in here. David Peach threw in a few points of interest as well. He was talking about the Canelo-Floyd rematch, but also on the DAZN point of view. He said, how can one fight be worth $1.5 billion? DAZN would have to shift some serious subscriptions. He also said that Audley Harrison might be making a comeback, Ozzy, to get a slice of the pie. There's that much money rolling around at the moment. Is it going to be going Deontay Wilder's way?
Well, look, he can talk about a legacy, and look, if he wants to stay a free agent, that's absolutely fine. But in reality, what options does he have? He's got to fight Dominic Breazeale next. DAZN were offering him $20 million for that. Regardless if it's not about the money, that is a bloody good payday to fight Dominic Breazeale as a mandatory. The next two fights after that were with Anthony Joshua. So I don't really understand in terms of his... Look, he wants to be known as the best. Well, in reality, you've got to beat Anthony Joshua. You be the unified champion then. So I don't get where he wants to go because, so he's rejected it. I mean, apparently, something I read that he wants to have one more fight on Showtime to stay loyal, and then after that, he will evaluate again. If that's the case, then that's fine. But for Wilder now, look, get Breazeale out the way, fine. After that, for me, it has to be Anthony Joshua. It has to be. Absolutely has to be. And I don't see what else will hold it up. There's nothing else. Look, the Fury fight can be then basically, I would rather see Joshua against Wilder than Wilder against Fury. Without a doubt. If we can get all the belts on the line, including the prestigious IBO belt, then let's do it. Nothing should be holding it up whatsoever. even more so that he's no contracts, he's no loyalty to anybody really, apart from Showtime as in what he wants to do. Like he's nothing contractually that's holding him anywhere. So I mean, it's going to be there's a press conference I think on Tuesday. I think that will reveal a lot of what's going to happen. So it's all right jumping the gun, but at the same time, look, there's got to be some onus on Deontay Wilder's team here in that. What do you want from boxing if every offer you are getting at the moment is being turned down? I mean, $100 million for 3 fights of Brazil, Joshua. That it's not bad. God, you could 100 boxers won't earn that. 200 boxers won't earn that between them on decent paydays, and he'll get that from 3 fights.
Yeah, it's something that's going to run and run, isn't it? Who knows? But it'll be interesting to see what happens. And all said and done, Gabe, you're a big fan of Sunday night boxing, as I mentioned earlier. There's a fight going on later tonight. Luis Collazo against Samuel Vargas. If that doesn't get the blood pumping, I don't know what does, Gabe. Bit of Michael Conlan as well against a guy I've never heard of. Vladimir Nikitin is fighting. That's one for the future. Joseph Adorno, decent prospect. Paddy Barnes is in action as well. Top rank tonight, Madison Square Garden. It's going on as we speak, Gabe. Are you going to, get rid of us and go over and watch this show instead?
What? A card on ESPN? I'm not. No, I don't know. I've got some work I've got to get done. I'll probably watch this card later. The only one that I'm really intrigued to watch is Joseph Adorno. I mean, the rest of them we kind of know what they bring to the table, and seems like it's just a good setup for a Irish card for St. Paddy's Day. So, I mean, why the fuck would you put anybody in on a card like that that's going to be ultra competitive? It just doesn't fit the MO of Top Rank to do that kind of thing, especially with a guy as young as Conlan is. Like I said, I mean, I'm sure there may be some good stuff come out of the card, but the only one that I'm really intrigued to watch right now is Joseph Adorno. Supposedly the kid's got some pretty big knockout power. That's not even sure what his record is right now. He's still pretty young, I believe. So I think he'll be exciting to see coming up. But the rest of them, I'll watch them later on, but I'm not getting any hurry to get it done.
Shit card, says Gabe. Anybody on the panel want to comment on this one? I'll leave it open. It's from Joe Ringer. I am happy to admit to a casual moment if I've missed something here. Joe said, question for the pod, can anyone ever remember a double retirement, as in 2 guys retiring on their stools at the same time? I said Ali Frazier nearly was, but I don't know whether Joe's saying this within the context of it's happened over the weekend. Have I missed a double retirement? Can anybody think of an occasion when both guys have retired themselves?
No, I'm not a clue.
No. I was thinking
Never
a double
heard of
knockdown.
anything like that.
No. I like the double knockdown, when they hit each other and go down. I remember Cello Render against Paul Samuels, that happened once. Also, Jadon Codrington fight, possibly Curtis Stevens, could have been somebody else. That happened a double knockdown there as well. There's one recently and I can't remember. Go ahead, Gabe.
Oh no, I just said that I don't recall any double retirements ever.
Rapping Rob Kelly in the chat says I can think of a few where I wanted them both to retire. Yeah, if anybody can think of them in the chat or in the YouTube comments or on Twitter or whatever afterwards, then hit me up if you can think of any double retirements. Nothing springs to mind. I can't think of that happening, Joe. So sorry about that. On the ball as always, Ozzy, let's mingle in with some previews for next week over in Leicester. Sam Bowen defending his title finally against Jordan McCorry. It seems like a long time coming, this card, this show, this particular defence from Sam Bowen. He's finally got himself an opponent. Nathan Gorman, Fabio Maldonado, not really interested in the opponent, want Gorman to get through so he can eventually fight Dubois. Sam Maxwell, Kelvin Dotel, CJ Challenger, Kyle Hayward. We've had Hayward on in the past as well. And also another friend of the pod, Callum Blockley, is on the undercard, as well as Tommy Fury and Ricky Hatton's son. Tell us about where the value is to be had on this Frank Warren show next week.
About 10:30, 11 o'clock when it finishes, because it's not great, to be honest. Don't mind the main event, Bowen McCorry. look, it's been difficult for Sam Bowen. He should have been fighting Ronnie Clark. Bowen got a broken rib when he fought was sparring David Avanesian. Got rescheduled, and then Ronnie Clark, I think, has got basically a career-threatening injury. I think it's to do with his neck or spine. So fingers crossed he comes through that. And then obviously the show got canned when it should have gone ahead in February, and then it's been rescheduled for now. It's disappointing, really. I think it's one of these that they just want to get it on, get it done, start again. Gorman is in with Maldonado. I think he used to be in the UFC or something like that. 26-1 for absolutely nobody. Looking forward to the area title fight. More often than not, these will produce the goods, and I hope this is on telly. I really do, because I'd rather see CJ Challenger and Kyle Haywood get some deserved TV time, because this could be this is a huge opportunity for them. What I don't want to see is someone like like Willie Hutchinson knock an absolute pudding out and then take a valuable TV slot instead of a meaningful fight. Sam Maxwell is in arguably his toughest test against this Kelvin Dotel. Don't know a lot about him. And yeah, that's your card, really. Tommy Fury, we mentioned before. A couple of youngsters on there as well. I don't think Ryan Hatton's anything to do with Ricky Hatton, Steve.
No, I fucked up there. Sorry. I know.
No, aside from that, it's not. Yeah, it's just it's poor, just a disappointing, and we're seeing it more often than not. After there's so many promising signs, and then you see all these people going off to America now, and it's just like the British fans are left with the scraps, and you're seeing just pointless cards, and you'd rather not.
But wait a minute. Eddie Hearn said last night, but Adam are coming back to the UK next week with a jam-packed solid card. Lawrence Okolie topping the card. Yeah. Lawrence Okolie, baby, can't wait.
Well, do you want me to move on to that, Steve, or do you want to?
Oh yes, let's do it.
I can't wait any longer, Ozzy. You're just gonna have to restrain yourself no longer. Go on.
Oz, I want keys to victory. I want preview prediction. I want the odds, and I want the method of victory as well for Lawrence Okolie. And I want it all done within the next 30 minutes. Go.
Right. Okay. Then yeah. So just let me get up my trusty betting website. But no. So we'll start from the top. I presume Charlie Edwards is topping it against this Angel Moreno, Spaniard out of Martinez's camp. He came from where Sergio Garcia from, who battered Ted Cheeseman. I suspect Charlie Edwards will come through this. I've not seen a lot of Moreno, if anything, but I can't see them getting someone who will pose a difficult test in a first defence, particularly on his home turf. There's a card that's not scheduled on BoxRec, but I'm sure it's going ahead. It's Joe Cordina against Andy Townend for the vacant British lightweight title. I think Cordina will be too cute and he'll get rid of Townend relatively with ease, to be honest. Buatsi, Liam Conroy. Again, probably Buatsi's toughest test, but I see him as 2 levels above Liam Conroy, even at this stage of his career. I like Buatsi. I don't like the way he's been matched, but this is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I think it is.
If you notice something, by just sorry, jump in there. If you notice something about Buatsi in that, he was Mr. Quiet for the first 8 fights of his career, and I've noticed something the last 2 to 3 weeks. And that he's starting to get like airtime on Sky and a wee bit promotional clips here and there and stuff like that. I know Simon Joshua, but I wonder if this is a sign that they're going to start pushing this guy, as you say, pretty quickly, and obviously fighting for the British title shortly in that as well. But I wonder if we're going to try and get this guy, because he needs it. He needs a bit of a push.
To be honest, Andy, if you look at it, a lot of Matchroom's mate lads are going over to America, so they're going to need people to headline fights and in meaningful fights as well on Sky, topping the bills.
Yeah, good point.
So look, Joshua Buatsi has got the Olympic background, decorated amateur. Now's the perfect time to do it. If he can win in impressive fashion against Liam Conroy on Saturday, the ball will start rolling with him. They can start matching him even better, and people want to be seeing him. Lawrence Okolie, Wadi Camacho. Fair play to Wadi Camacho. He's kept going. Steve Goodwin's done a brilliant job with him, and he's got his huge opportunity. And look, I've watched a couple of videos with Goodwin, and I respect his opinion. He talks sense. There's no bullshit with him. And he he's spoken to Camacho, and Camacho's team genuinely believe they have a plan to fight Lawrence Okoli. Now, on Saturday, I'll be strapping a pillow to my head because when Lawrence Okoli fights, it's usually you fall down and you want to go to sleep because it's boring. So that'll soften the blow anyway. Horrendous, like the last couple of performances, I think, against Matty Askin and Isaac Chamberlain. I just want to see Okoli fight. I don't want to see him hit Camacho and then just tie him up because it's like he's hiding glass. He's afraid to get hit. I'll pull up the odds for you now, Andy. So Lawrence Okoli's best price 1 to 12, longest at 1 to 25. You can get Wadi Camacho at 19 to 2 to win. In terms of the market, it's method of victory. There may not be anything up yet. No, there's nothing up yet. Oh yeah, there is. Sorry, yet. So Okoli to win by stoppage is 1 to 4. Okoli on points is 15 to 4. You can get a Camacho decision at 14 to 1. Or to win by knockout at 22 to 1, and a draw is at 33s. So
Aussie Cordina Town and George Rodriguez said it's on the brown card against Dave Allen.
Oh, is it? Oh, right. Sorry, that's my mistake. Then right. Yeah. So that's disappointing, really, because obviously Lewis Ritson, Andy Townend was lined up for. No, he wasn't. No, I'm completely wrong. Ignore what I'm saying there. Ritson's obviously he announced last week that he's vacating his lightweight title and he's now stepping up to 140. I'm not sure how that's going to go with him. I didn't see him as a massive lightweight, to be honest. I never looked at him and thought, bloody hell, he does well to get down to lightweight, but he clearly feels he needs the extra weight on him. He's got looks like an Argentinian guy coming over. I suspect he'll look good. Jason Quigley been added to the card. Sean McGoldrick, he's in there against Liverpoolian Sean Cairns. Again, I suspect it'll be a routine win for McGoldrick. And there's a pro debut for a female boxer, Shannon Courtney, who boxes out of Adam Booth's gym. So, again, we've got 2 British cards on Saturday night. I mean, got to talk about Frank here, who kicked off prior to the year 2019, starting saying that it's a disgrace about cards clashing and people doing it on purpose and it's disrespectful. Well, he rescheduled his Leicester card to clash with this Copper Box one. So it's a bit of humble pie there. Like, you can't bang on about and slag everybody else off for it and then go against what you say and then put your own card on clashing with somebody else's. So that's no good for anybody. But being brutally honest, across the 2 cards, there's nothing stand out. It's average at best, and fingers crossed, the second quarter of the year definitely improves.
Well, briefly, Ozzy, it looks like it's interesting times, I think, because Eddie's obviously sort of pushing his better talent of any nationality over towards America. Frank's pushing his better talent of any nationality in the light of this Carl Frampton ESPN deal over to America as well. So what we're going to be left on the domestic scene, and then obviously with DAZN looking to push their way into the domestic scene, and we believe not side with Sky, there's going to be a stretching of the talent, crop really soon.
Massively, absolutely massively. I don't think Frampton is a big loss.
No, but it's indicative of the movement towards, you know what I mean, towards America.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and now I mean, considering, look, 12 months ago, everybody was saying how the UK is the home of boxing. Everybody wants to come here. Everybody wants to fight. All the money's here. Everything's here. Pay-per-views, stadium fights, big atmospheres. 12 months later, what's gone wrong? Because the money's still here. The fact is that the US have got, basically, it looks like new funding from DAZN. ESPN have got loads of cash. And look, it's clear Eddie Hearn's made a move over into America and he's decided, look, I'm going to conquer America now, and people have followed suit. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be frustrating times for the UK fans because, it's a sport that it's not cheap. It's look, a lot of the time, unless you live local, you've got hotels, you've got travel costs, and more importantly, a ticket. It's an expensive weekend or night away, and it relies heavily on ticket sales. And if you're putting on poor cards and your product isn't good enough, people will get sick of it. I think we've seen it already. People are getting pretty pissed off with everything. I mean, look at the card they've announced with Dave Allen, Lucas Brown headlining. That is not a headline fight on Sky.
Eddie said it's a good fight.
I couldn't give a fuck what Eddie said. He's a bullshitter. That is not a good fight. I mean, Adam Smith, it's a great fight. Why? David Allen has not won a Central Area title, and he's headlining live on Sky. Live on Sky. It's a joke, absolute joke. And like I said, the UK boxing fans, all the pros and stuff like that, to slag them off sometimes, saying, "Oh, they think they pay their wages," but at the same time, they're more than entitled to moan when the returns they're getting, all the best talent is being farmed off to America. I've nothing against, like somebody has to travel abroad to fight for a world title. That happens. But when you're taking all the majority of the talent from the UK over there and they're going to be based there, what's in it for the UK fans then? Absolutely nothing. And there was somebody in the chat, sorry, just to divert quickly, who has asked for a Prince Patel update. Well, Prince Patel, obviously we know he defeated Ronald Ramos at Morrison's pub in Budapest in January, where he claimed the Universal Boxing Organization World Bantamweight title, as well as the vacant World Boxing Federation World Bantamweight title. He's now back out against Selimani Bangazia at the Sports Hall in Hungary, in Kistarksa. 15-5 Selimani Bangazia. And there's a few common names on the card as well. I think we all remember Mark Demori, the vicious heavyweight who David Hay dispatched from his who taught himself to box on YouTube. And somebody else getting him out, Ashley Theophane, is fighting at middleweight against Zolt Fries, 7-5. So if you're out and about in Hungary, get down to the Fight Night Show promotion at the Sports Hall in Kistarka. You can see Prince Patel, Mark Demori, Ashley Theophane up close and personal in not so meaningful fights.
What a time to be alive, indeed. Andy, I feel guilty asking you about this Sky show, so I'm going to give you an option. You can either talk about the Charlie Edwards, Lawrence Okoli show, or you can answer this question from Liam Jordan. From what is the mathematical equation? No, Liam Jordan says, heart and loyalty aside, where will we rate Ricky Hatton in the British all-time greatest? Top 10, top 15, £140. Hatton definitely in the top 10, says Liam. £147, not so great. Where is he in the all-time British ratings?
All-time great British ratings. See, I think a lot of people kind of get caught up in the fact is because he was actually quite popular and he dragged a lot of people all over the world and stuff. But I would need a serious bit of thought and stuff, because obviously, I mean, Ben was very popular, Naz was very popular. Kawasaki probably the kind of latter half of his career because he couldn't sell fucking sand to the Arabs at one point. Bruno was obviously popular as well. Obviously he did a lot of stuff on like nativity plays and all that sort of shit. But Hatton will obviously be, he'll always be kind of linked to it. I think because of the era he fought in, probably kind of new generation fight fans coming through at that point as well. Kind of like the scene was changing, the musical scene and all that type of thing and that as well. Just society was changing at that point, and Hatton was like, say, every Saturday, when he was fighting, you had to get the pay-per-view. Your mates were round, we're all watching it because you knew Hatton was going to bring it. As for like say, history ranking wise, I would need to kind of get a serious thought, because I do put a lot of stock in fighters who go the traditional route, whereas Hatton went through that reign of terror at the WBU. So I don't know if that kind of like maybe kind of hits anything standing wise and that, but there was fights that Hatton could have fought, like so obviously the junior water fights and that, but at the same time, did you really want to see him fight like say washed up fighters like say Vince Phillips, for example, or like say they call him Hutchison, guys like that. So, but he will always be highly ranked. I think I would probably say, popular wise, definitely in the top 10. If you're talking popularity, if you're talking like say in terms of achievement, there's obviously there's a lot of fighters that would go before him, and I need a wee bit more time to kind of sit and break it down a wee bit kind of further than that, especially give me a question off the top of the bat. But you know,
You can
I
cope, Andy.
yeah, but I think he won the British title and then didn't even defend it.
Wasn't it
As I
against
say,
Thaxton? Do you remember
it
he had
was
the mad cut against John
aye.
Thaxton? Yeah.
It was we called Mick Rubb actually saved him that night. I probably even saved his career actually that night as well.
Yeah.
But after that, he just he fought. I think he fought I just pulled up his record there. He fought Freddie Pendleton, who's obviously got a win over Juan Manuel Marquez, but Pendleton was like 70 fights deep at that point, washed. Eamon McGee was like, say, well, we all know what kind of life that Eamon McGee lived, like alcohol wise and stuff like that. He got dropped in his arse that fight. I just think he was managed properly. We'll put it that way, and he created this following, and then when the time came, he fought Costa Zoo and stuff, but. People need to remember that Costa Zoo fight, that wasn't one-way traffic. He took a fair licking in that fight, and if I remember rightly, those cards went very, very fucking wide, quite close until Zoo quit. So yeah, as I say, it's properly managed. As I say, Luis Collazo or what was the knockout again? Castillo, the one with the broken rib.
That was
again,
a brilliant finisher.
It was a brilliant finish again, mate. But it was another fighter who was, he was done. He was washed.
Yeah.
So I just think his final standing opponent wise doesn't relate to what he should maybe kind of get as terms of his popularity, shall we say.
Okay, let us move on, shall we? Gabriel. Maryland next Sunday evening. More Sunday boxing for you. It always seems to come around, doesn't it? Lamont Peterson against Sergei Lipinets. I actually think this is a decent fight. One of the fights I was looking forward to, sadder that I am, whenever the PBC put out their list. But a few of them have actually been pretty decent. I thought Porto against Ugas wasn't too bad. Really enjoyed Lara against Castaño. So again, praise be to Al Heyman as always. Through him, all things are possible, Gabe. Lamont Peterson, Sergei Lipinets. Are you as enthused with this one as I am? Gabe, control yourself. Don't think Gabe's there, is he? Can you hear me, Ozzy?
Yeah, I just think the excitement of Sunday night boxing has just taken over Gabe, so it's understandable, really.
Lamont Peterson, Ozzy, how could you not get up for that against Sergei Lipinets? All joking aside, I think it could be a pretty decent fight.
It's not bad, actually, yeah. I didn't realise that was next Sunday. I thought it would be on the Saturday night. Well, no, it's not bad. I'll probably take Lipinets in this. I thought Lipinets put a commendable effort in against Mikey Garcia. Look, he came back against Eric Bone and didn't put in the best of performances. But look, Peterson's there, and I think it's one that Lipinets will come through, and then I've no doubt that he'll be looking for probably another world title shot or some sort of eliminator/final eliminator moving forward. I see Tom Brown's cropping up again, isn't he? He's another one of those
proxy promoters.
Proxy promoters, yeah, with Lou DiBella. Argenis Mendes is getting a run out on the card as well. He's still going. Bloody hell. But
yeah,
no, a good fight. Peterson Lipinets, it's not bad at all, that. Not bad.
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty decent. Concern for Gabe in the chat. Callum B says Gabe has had a stroke. Hopefully not. Also, have you guys created a homage to Anthony Ogogo, who sadly announced his retirement this week? Obviously, I don't wish any ill on Mr. Ogogo having an eye injury and all that.
Here, can I say something, by the way? Did you listen to his interview on Costello and Buns 5
Live?
Live?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you need to listen to that, by the way. I mean, that guy he's basically put himself right through the ringer, by the way, mentally, physically. Hearing the stories of him, actually, that, he won Olympic bronze, and he was actually like leaving the village to go and see his mum who was dying. I think she was dying with cancer at the time. So he was sit there all night with his mum, go back, train, make weight, fight. Things like that you didn't really appreciate or understand or hear about. Well, I think it was heard about if you're in the circle, so to speak. But he's just, he's went and tried everything he possibly could, spent all his money basically trying to get himself back in the ring and stuff, and knew he's paying the penalty, and he still talks about to this day that he's still got problems with the eye. He's got this blurred vision, and he says, look, at one point I was really bitter. It was a very forth upright and frank, very honest interview. Actually, I would recommend to go and listen to it. Actually,
he spent about £100,000 on surgery, hasn't he?
Yeah, something like that. It was major. He's basically like spent all his money from boxing on surgery for his eyes, and it still hasn't helped him, and he's still got problems, and he's going to have problems till the day he dies. It's unbelievable. And the thing is this: he was basically known as a Dan Anderton. He fucking boxing. He was known to be injured constantly, shoulders, knees, elbows. He just couldn't catch a break injury wise, and that his body just wouldn't let him cope with that type of pounding, basically.
Yeah, it's weird because it almost feels to me like he's been out that long, and then I saw him in the Cunningham fight, and he wasn't quite making it for whatever reason was going on in the background. It feels like he sort of retired or drifted away from the sport so long ago. Him announcing his retirement, it almost felt like he'd already retired to me, Andy. It was like strange.
Yeah, it was. I think he had everything to kind of fight for this day as well, because if I remember rightly, he signed with Golden Boy when he turned pro. Bronze medal, that was, regardless if it was gold, silver, or bronze, that it was always kind of like probably some sort of kind of bargaining tool for him. But no, it just shows you, I think he admitted it himself. Actually, I think before the Greg Cunningham fight, he knew then and there that he was done. He knew he had problems, and it's just a sport, isn't it? It's undefeated.
Yeah.
Obviously, sorry, just
go on, right.
Best wishes to Peter McDonough as well.
Aye.
Road Warrior has just had 16 hours worth of brain surgery to remove a tumour. So
cancerous.
Yeah, so obviously that's a positive, but still 16-hour surgery on the brain, it's not something you wish anything on. So obviously best wishes to Peter McDonough as well, who's been here, there and everywhere, boxing, everybody last minute, done a bit of punditry as well. So yeah, best wishes to Peter McDonough.
That's likely to be his career over now as well, eh?
Oh yeah.
He's got
He was the Irish champ or Celtic champ or something like that.
Yes.
He beat Michael Gomez, didn't he? When Gomez famously turned his back.
He's got 10 months worth of intense recovery now, Andy. So there's not a chance he'll be fighting again now.
But there's no physical effects. He's not going to be in a wheelchair or.
No, I don't think so. No.
That type of thing, You know what I'm talking about? Because usually, he didn't want to be operating the brain unless it's absolutely necessary in that,
Oh God!
I mean, I think he's is he not 42 anyway, or something like that? So
he's been gone for years. He must be.
Yeah. So I mean, he's got minimum of the next 12 months out. I think he knows himself. It's probably time just to walk away. And while he's got his health intact, it's just fortunate that they saw it now rather than when he was in the ring. He could have been taking shots then. So no. Anyway, best of health to him and a speedy recovery.
Well said, Ozzy. We've had questions in on Felix Trinidad from Darren Cope, and also a question from C.A. Watson about putting an expert fighter together or something. We'll come to those in a future week, I think. Let's get on to Bellew of the Weeks, and then we shall close up everybody. I believe that I covered all the fights for next week. Yep, Agogo was the last thing that the chat were mentioning. Shout out to everybody there. Quite a few Bellews. I've had to can a few, so if you don't hear it, apologies in advance. We've got to go to work tomorrow. Well, I don't anyway, but there you go. Boxing Kingdom, who is the biggest ducker in world boxing? Another Virgil clean sheet jumped in. How has AJ been avoiding anybody, he says? Unbeaten Cornish, unbeaten White, unbeaten Martin, unbeaten Brazil, unbeaten Parker. Also, Klitschko, Takam and Povetkin, and now an unbeaten Jarrell Miller. So if you put AJ, you probably have a memory issue, says another Virgil clean sheet. Woolly Skull nominated that one. Cocaine Dawkins has nominated Boxing Antics, talking about Triple G signing with DAZN. Boxing Kingdom again has been nominated by Christoph. Amir Khan has 2.2 million Twitter followers. Terence Crawford has 131,000. Amir Khan's follower base is 17 times larger. Will this help Amir achieve victory on April the 20th, considering the fact he's more experienced on the bigger stage? with his 2.2 million Twitter followers. Well done, Boxing Kingdom. There must be a troll, but fair play to them. What about this one then, Andy? The Guru was in fine form this week. He was having a bit of a back and forth about Cali Sauerland, and he had some interesting questions for Cecilia Breakers.
Yeah,
What was going on with the Guru? Some investigative journalism.
Oh, he's some fucking man, isn't he? See, when he gets started, man, there's absolutely no stopping the guy. Honest to God, he's a king of just basically pulling people right into the shit.
Asking the big questions.
Yeah, well, obviously, I mean, you've got to ask these questions, say. So, what do you do when you you speak to like the first female undisputed champion of boxing, right? What is a hard hitting questions you got to ask the chicks these days? Fucking Tommy, man, it's incredible. So basically, what happens is, what was it? I think Cecilia Brackus basically sent out a tweet or whatever it was, and Tommy asked the question, "Did you ever ride Cali, mate?" So basically, did you ever ride Cali Sauerland? Cecilia Brackus came back to him with fair due, says, "No, mate." But Tommy responded, "Did you ride him?" To which she never responded. I was just oh my fuck. So you got to add Tommy in there for that one. Like
investigative journalism at its finest there. Tommy getting down to the hard questions. Fair play to Cecilia for getting involved with that one. Andy, you're having a bit of a back and forward as well with Ron Borges, is it, from the Boxing Monthly? Dominic was involved as well.
That was Dom who got involved in that one, mate. Something to do with Fury fighting that. I just happened to respond to something that everybody who seemed to have that as a close fight was like the Yanks, and everybody to a man that I've listened to American-wise who calls that a close fight is purely based on 2 knockdowns.
You're involved, Andy, in the middle like Eddie, trying to split them 2 up?
Mate, Eddie's only got a patch in me. I just got stuck in there and just threw punches. Eddie Herman when they're talking about, how much money can this make on pay-per-view, baby?
Sam has nominated Eddie, actually, talking to the great man himself. Fantasy matchups, Eddie picked AJ to KO Lewis and Tevin Farmer to beat Naz. Fuck's sake, says Sam. Couldn't have said it better myself. Tunde was in talking about Kovalev against Kostya. No, what am I talking? Fuck's sake, sorry. Not Kovalev against Kostya. Sorry, Tunde was talking about Kovalev against Anthony Yard. He said this will be the biggest fight in the UK since Ricky Hatton against Kostya. That's where I got a bit mixed up there. Make it happen, says Tunde. Box Royalty jumped in. Belly of the week for Captain Bullshit here. Talking about 80,000 fans. But Tunde, he thinks that Yard against Kovalev should happen in the UK. It'll be the biggest fight since Ricky went in against Kostya. David Tarbuck has nominated Spencer X. Looks like Spence has been sacked from the Sky Boxing podcast. Hasn't been on since January, says David. What a shame. I wasn't listening anyway. John O'Donovan has nominated Adam Smith. Sky Sports box office is the creme de la creme, says Adam Smith. Yep, we'll take your word for it. Nomination, who is this? Christopher Ansell has nominated Conor Benn for being such a bad man. He refuses to smile for pictures. Still soft enough to kiss his old man on the lips, though, says Chris Ansell. Nomination for Conor. Boxing Connoisseur, bit of an expert here. Another Conor Benn one, actually. Boxing Connoisseur says, Conor Benn destroying the aqua bag. Do you think he'll achieve more than his father, Nigel Benn, in the sport of boxing? Danny Robson nominated this for Bellew of the Week. Prime Tyke Myson has nominated the WBC. Only the WBC could vote Tony Yoka as Prospect of the Year while he's serving a drugs ban. Andy Patterson jumped in and nominated that one as well for Bellew of the Week. Mr. Myson also nominated Billy Nelson. Been a bit quiet, Billy, since Martin Bacoli lost to Michael Hunter. But he said, Billy, Anthony Yard, rightly or wrongly, is WBO number 1 and has been ordered to fight Kovalev. I hope he takes the fight. And personally, think if he can take Kovalev's shots early, then my screenshot is cut off, but I believe Billy was giving Yard a chance if he could take Kovalev's shots early. Okay, Billy. Okay, Brian King has nominated Kingdom Boxing. Might be a bit of a troll account in that one. He's also nominated Kugan Cassius. Kugan getting a bit of grief this week. People telling him to go back to Sri Lanka. I'll go to Sri Lanka for you if you want, Kugan. It seems quite nice there. You've been to Sri Lanka, Ozzy. If someone told you to fuck off back to Sri Lanka, would you be back in a shot?
Yeah, nice country. I'll happily go there. Better climate than it is in the UK.
There you go.
I'm willing to fucking bet money right now. Kugan Cassius hasn't been anywhere near fucking Sri Lanka. And here we have a white man from fucking Yorkshire who's been there, by the way. So that says it all.
Whoa.
Oh,
Value
you
of the
sorry,
week
Ozzy.
territory.
You know white? Sorry, mate. Sorry about that. Oh, you know Yorkshire, man.
I'm not from Yorkshire. Retract that, big time. I'm from Lancashire and proud.
All right, so you're for Blackburn, eh? So I keep getting these two mixed up. Like you're across the Pennines, am I right?
I'm from Chorley.
Right. Sorry.
Coming
about
in
that.
your ears, Ozzy.
Yes, coming in the ears. Yeah.
Coming in your ears. There you go. That's that one cleared up. A nomination, another one from Brian King. He threw in so many this week for Lukey Boxing. Upset of the weekend will be Selecki beating Gabe Rosado tomorrow on DAZN, says Lukey Boxing. I know he's a little walking parody, isn't he, Lukey? I haven't listened to his show for a while, though. I did back in the day. Brian as well. Lukey Boxing, he runs like a podcast. He's sort of big on the West Coast scene, boxing voice, all that type of stuff.
Boxing voice.
They were on at us this week, weren't they?
They were actually, fucking dickhead casual.
Someone purporting to be from the Boxing Voice were having a go at us, saying that we hadn't got very good numbers and stuff. But one thing we do have, Andy, is integrity. I didn't want to get involved because you never know. Agent Steak Knife probably be on the phone to his pals at the FBI getting us shut down.
I was just going to say that, mate. I've got the screenshots ready to go. He didn't respond to me actually, but I was just going to say, listen, Paul. End of the day, your boss is a grass. He wore a wiretap. He grassed his mates up. He couldn't do the time. He was wanting to deal the drugs, take the cash, but when it all came down, crashing about him, he says, "Fuck you, I ain't going to jail." Whereas some people that I know and respect would just took the rap. Literally, actually, my mate's father got done actually just 3 days ago for fucking $250,000 more for fucking Charlie, man. Fucking hell. Him and his father, but his father took the rap, so he's let him go to jail. That's loyalty, by the way.
Well said, Andrew. Well said. There you go. You can stick your likes and your subscribers up your arse. Please like and subscribe, by the way, if you're in the chat. Brian King has nominated Doug Fisher. As always, says Doug, I had a great chat with one of Britain's keenest boxing minds in the radio business. Who's he talking about? Adam Cattrall on TalkSport, apparently. We had a deep dive on Spence Garcia. One of the keenest boxing minds in the radio business is this Cattrall individual who has me blocked. Apparently,
Cattrall's a cunt, by the way.
Yeah, he's blocked me. I don't know why. I've never interacted with him. I suppose I never will now.
Yeah, it's probably by extension to me, Steve.
Oh, possibly. Yeah, that's okay. Well, thank Andy. I want to thank you for that.
Not a problem, mate. Anything else I can do to help you, just give me a shout. You got my number.
Yep, will do. Jorge Fuentes has been nominated by a few people, including Evan Field, TBE. Mr. Fuentes was talking about the Garcia Spence fight that we witnessed last night. Sick of following boxing, says Jorge. Mikey clearly won most of the rounds between 1 and 8. Just because Spence finished strong doesn't mean Mikey deserved to win. Mikey deserved the win over this. Most of Errol's weak punches were on Mikey's gloves. Boxing Kingdom, boxing is a fraud. And he got 60 likes as well, so people are getting involved in this.
But he's a parody of that cunt, isn't he?
I think he is. Yeah, Hamed's in the chat. Shout out to Hamed. They're talking about Adam Cattrall, Fat Paul Smith lookalike. There you go.
How does he get awards over us, by the way? How the fuck is that possible?
That's life, Andy, Dropping too many truths for the business.
Yeah. I've seen some of the comments fucking bombs the other week there, actually.
Oh, yeah. I know, yeah. There you go. Brian King has nominated Tom Gray. The following prediction is my own, says Tom. I don't know if he's if he's owning up to this afterwards. These are not the views of Ring Magazine. Balls to the wall. I'm picking Mikey Garcia with confidence. Bring it on, says Tom. Chad Hogan has also nominated The Walks. That's Chris Walker. I'm so confident Mikey Garcia beats Errol Spence, says Walker, that I'll delete my account if he loses. The deletion did take place when he deleted the tweet, and not on my watch, says Brian King.
I don't know if he deleted it, but I'm sure I certainly saw it because he retweeted it by a comment saying I'm only kidding or something like along those lines. But
oh right, okay.
Pardon me.
No, not at all, Andrew. Not at all. Gabe's with us as well. Ozzy's still with us. Plenty of Belly of the Weeks to come. Danny Young is in the chat. Shout out to you, Danny Young. Love a bit of Youngers7 over on Twitter. Go and follow him, everybody. Youngers with a Z or a Z, as you would say.
Team Music.
Team Music. Number 7 at the end, the number itself. Bellew of the Week for Bellew himself for having a meltdown on Twitter after the UFC fighter Till got dropped. Bellew not happy with people's opinions on it. What was this, Andy? This Daryl Till or something?
Oh, Daryl Till. I am the biggest UFC casual, but even I know he's the biggest shit talker that doesn't back it up, and he got fucking iced. I mean, fucking shit. He got an de-accelerated fucking concussion there. By the way, he got knocked out before he even hit the ground. He was out. The second he hit the fucking floor, his head bounced literally 3 times. You could hear it off the boards. 3 times it bounced off the canvas, and the guy just for good measure gave him another fucking cheeky left hand just to say, "Fuck you, you're knocked out." I'm telling you right now, that guy will never be the same again. In fact, he'd be lucky to talk shit again after fucking getting knocked out like that as well. Actually, if you mentioned it, but fucking what a knockout!
Tell you what, his head was like a bouncy ball, wasn't it, off that canvas?
Oh, it was like one of the. It was like a fucking space hopper, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was vicious, absolutely brutal.
And vicious, mate. It was pure vicious.
Must look out for that. I've heard a few people talking about it actually. Is that Kung Fu thing? What is it, MMA or something?
I'll share it to you now, mate. I'll share it to you now.
Quality. Send it to me, Andy, while I roll through some more of these. And Lee at Num Tapestry has nominated Joe Habib. DAZN is basically offering Wilder step-aside money to delay the Joshua fight. Tottenham Boxing has nominated Fino Boxing. Who wins tonight, says Fino Boxing. They put up a poll. 23% picked Errol Spence. 77% picked Mikey Garcia. Yeah, TKW has nominated this Bellew thing on about respect. In combat sports, it only takes one shot and the boys at the top level can do it at any moment. Instead of slagging fighters off, why not try it yourself, says Bellew. I'm not asking you to. If you see my timeline and the abuse he, as in Till, has been getting, and then you would see it's disgusting. I'm getting it myself, but in all honesty, I don't mind. I just look at me WBC belt or my bank balance. Either way, we shouldn't be getting abused when unconscious.
Yeah, I agree with Tony's saying there because, listen, see when Tony got iced off Usyk, at least he's trying to get back up. Till got fucking... As someone told me, he got instant rigor mortis when he got knocked out there by him. It was fucking beautiful. I'll send you a link there, mate. You need to see it. Honest to fucking Christ.
Andy, I'm going to excuse myself and go and watch this because I've reached the end of my Bellew of the Week nominations. I shall invite you, then Oliver, and then Gabriel in sequential order to add yours into the mix as well while I go and watch this icing.
Yeah, but you should probably just go right to Aussie because I only had the one that was Tony Yoka. This new Twitter account's actually doing us a big favour in that as well. But I'll probably say Eddie Hearn purely because for his salesmanship there last night on commentary, basically saying that we've had all these great fights in America recently and all that sort of stuff, and then we're bringing it back home over the next couple of weeks. The fans are demanding we come back home and stuff, and you just said, Eddie, stop speaking with a forked fucking tongue, man. You're a fucking snake. You're a grass, and the worst it is, you're the shittest promoter ever, man. You just, I can't wait for you to get washed out of that fucking place. I really do.
Well, I've got one. It was from, he's deleted it now, but it was from Thomas. Well, it was from the account Thomas Kizzer, FNZ. And he tweeted about how Eddie Hearn is going to get his own back on Errol Spence with Josh Kelly, Conor Benn, and Ted Cheeseman. So, good luck to those three. I don't think those three would take them on one night.
See if you got MI5 or NSA to do a search on that tweet by that Twitter account. I guarantee it would probably end back to Eddie Hearn's fucking phone.
Yeah. I don't know why people do stuff like that. It's absolutely bizarre. What goes through the mind to think, buddy, Conor Benn will beat Errol Spence? There's just nothing to suggest that whatsoever. I don't know why people open themselves up to it, but no, the new account's working wonders, Steve. So that's all I've got from my side.
Yeah, I've just seen that. That was a brutal knockout, and he saw the left hook coming, didn't he? But he couldn't react. He was like square on. He couldn't react quick enough. And then that MMA thing is absolutely brutal. Your man's still there trying to pummel him, and the referee got involved. And that's what I'm not fussed about. That once you're down on the deck, like I sort of like the way of boxing where you can, nobody's jumping on top of you and starting to pummel the shit out of you. Maybe I'm a softie at heart, Andy.
No, I agree with you, mate. I just think it's like street fighting that as well. If you knock a guy down, I've never been one to dive in and just fucking ladle fuck out the guy in that. Because in the days you could maybe end up hurting yourself badly compared to what you actually landed on him and stuff. But for him, I can make an exception.
Yeah, Chuckery reckons that with a 6-week training camp, I could take Conor Benn. Yeah.
Talking about Conor Benn, by the way, right? I mean, can you honestly? I mean, we're talking about the Uzbeks here last week. How the fuck are they not ranked over Conor fucking Benn? I
Well,
mean, seriously,
you know the answer.
money, brown envelopes. It's just putrid, man. It's just fucking shocking.
It's all about the skills, and no one's got the skills like the
No.
Destroyer. We all know that.
Those skills ain't paying no fucking bills anyway. I tell you that.
Right, Gabe, you got anything to throw in? Are you there? Looks like Andy's been nominated in the chat. Sorry, Gabe. Andy seems to be nominated in the chat here. What's going on?
For what?
I don't know. Go ahead, Gabe. Sorry, while I try and find it.
I'm going to nominate Dana White, the UFC head guy, for
Oh yes,
putting K on Mikey Garcia and then posted it on fucking Twitter.
Good nomination for Dana White there. Yeah, we've had quite a few. I think everybody's thrown them in, haven't they? Tony Bellew was on rare form. Just going through them now. Yeah, another one for Bellew. Plenty from Brian King, Tom Gray. That was quite a good one. Jorge Fuentes. We think that might be a troll account, Andy, possibly.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. Doug Fisher, waxing lyrical about Adam Cattrall. Lukey Boxing got nominated. Bit of Coogan action as well. Billy Nelson. What do we think, Andy? Conor Benz had a couple as well thrown in. Adam Smith. Spencer X been sacked from toe to toe. We could invite Spencer onto our panel, couldn't we?
Wait, whoa. Air brake in reverse here. What the fuck happened here?
Well, we think Spencer's been sacked from toe to toe.
I would.
Okay, now doesn't he?
That makes me hard. Just fucking you even saying that, mate. Say that again.
Spencer has been sacked by toe to toe.
Tonya, come here, baby. That's not going to happen. She's 6 months pregnant.
That's the best time to get at it.
No, it's no. Trust me. No, this time. So say that again. Spencer Fearon's been sacked by.
Well, we don't know, but he's left, and we're suspecting a sack in Aussie. David Tarbuck is anyway.
Was he signed with MTK recently as well?
Maybe that's what it is then.
Yeah, he worked for MTK now, doing bits there.
Is it kind of ambassador role, kind of like say? Yeah. I mean, imagine like you're needing some inspiration in your life, and then walks Spencer Fearon to give you like a life lesson. I'd jump out the fucking 4-story window, man.
He's not been sacked. He's on house arrest, says friend of the pod, Jason Chukwu.
Oh, nonsense.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Boxing Kingdom. I like their ones, whether it's a troll or not. When he said Amir Khan has 2.2 million Twitter followers, Terence Crawford has 131,000. Khan's follower base is 17 times larger. Will this help Amir achieve victory on April the 20th, considering the fact he's more experienced on the big stage?
Fuck's sake.
I think that's a good one.
I don't pay attention to the guys, but I'm going to go for WBC because what they did was just similar to what the PBC do. You know, they'll like announce a fight of the week who hasn't fought in like 6 months.
Oh, aye.
But Tony Yoka's actually said a drugs ban for. So Tony WBC for me.
WBC for you. Jason Chukwu, any words on Adam? No, nothing to say about that. I'm more into Adam Smith, to be honest, Chukwu, than Adam Johnson. This is one for WBC, one for Boxing Kingdom. Ozzy, who are you going for?
Adam Smith, for basically just having complete disregard and saying that, aside from Mikey Garcia, Luke Campbell's the best lightweight in the world.
What about you, Gabe? Who are you going for?
I think I'm going to go for... I think the WBC one is good.
WBC, why not? They don't need any excuse to create a belt, Gabe. What about the WBC Bellew of the Week belt?
Hey, they could make one.
Yeah, could make one for yourself there, boys. Congratulations to the WBC. Old Jose Suleiman's dead, isn't he? He won't be collecting any awards.
I'm hearing word that Paddy Barnes got dropped here. What the fuck's going on?
Put it on now.
He's getting worked. This says here. I'm going to go and put it on as soon as we get out.
6 rounds, 8 rounds?
He's just been nailed to the body.
Oh, he hates it there, like.
Yeah. There we go then. The fight's on. Should we all depart, gentlemen, and go and watch this? Thank you to everybody who has been on tonight. Ozzy, as always. Rapping Rob Kelly was with us. He's been keeping it busy, keeping it real in the chat. Andy Patterson as well. Fair play to Gabe. We had a couple of guests as well. Tommy Fury was on, and also we had James Moorcroft, wasn't it, Ozzy?
Correct.
Yeah, that's the one, yeah. It's a long old evening, isn't it? Have I forgotten anything, gentlemen, or shall we depart and watch the mighty Box Nation?
Box Nation, baby.
Box Nation it is. Thank you to everybody in the chat. I do go through the week and read the chat, so if there's anything that you've put in there, I will see it. I'll go and have a read during the week. So thanks everybody in there. Good to have you, Dom, everybody, MB, Jason, Youngers. We'll catch you all again next week, same time, same place. All the best, lads. Cheers, boy.